Good afternoon. We'll call to order the Tuesday, February 24th, 1 p.m. School Board Workshop. Let's rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and our national anthem. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ramirez, present.
Janie, Ruddy, present.
Furry, present.
Christy, Chong, present.
LaShakia Moore.
Move on to board member liaison updates.
All right, so we'll start with Belterre Elementary. So they had a great You and Me dance on Friday at Matanzas High School. I know a lot of work went into this, so thank you to both school administrators, Mr. Kevin, who is, if you don't know him, he's a full-time volunteer for Belterre. When I first met him, I thought he was an employee. So the PTO, volunteers, the custodial staff, they were working it. They were also volunteering at it, and plant services, and our firefighters, because we did have a small situation at the beginning of the dance, but everybody handled it very quickly, professionally. Everyone was safe, and it was super fun. So thank you all to all of that team. They're now gearing up for their annual Bobcat 5K, so it will be April 11th, and we are looking for business sponsors. So if you are a local business, small business, large business, we are looking for your sponsorship. All of the funds go back into the school for various activities, so please take a look at that. And thank you to Sweet Melissa's. They donated 100 ice cream treats to support the PBIS program. So PBIS, it focuses on positive behavior for our students, and PTO and SAC meetings, they went very, very well last week. They always have coffee, so, you know, great groups. We're looking for new leadership for PTO and SAC. So if you're a parent or guardian, they are looking for that because the current ones are going to be retiring from that position. Matanzas High School. So again, thank you for letting the elementary school have their dance there. It was really fun. All the kids liked it. So they had a packed SAC meeting last week as usual. Faculty presented 4 mini grant requests. So what that is, it's money that comes from the state, and it's in a large bank account, and parents, teachers, kids, they vote on where the money goes, as long as it meets the SIP, student improvement plan. Thank you. So We had 4 mini grants. It ranged from certified pirate shirts to fast ELA success kits and glue sticks, believe it or not, for math notebooks. It's actually really cool how they utilize it. So if you do have any glue sticks to donate, we would love that at Matanzas High School. We need a couple 100,000. So, serious? Good. I promise you'll love it. Congratulations to our Blue Steel Band and JROTC cadets. They were at the Daytona Speedway recently. I did not attend that, but a lot of people were watching, so we're proud of you. And the Multicultural Festival is going to be March 12th. I know they work really, really hard at that. It will be at 5:30 p.m., so open to the community. EPAC, that's our Exceptional Student Education Parent Advisory Council, so they continue to do great work with our students with disabilities. Best Buddies Club, so that's a club that works with our ESE students and non-ESE students. So they hosted a Valentine's dance at Indian Trails Middle School, so it was a great event. My kiddo went to that and said it was awesome. He's a part of Best Buddies. And their ESE department continues with their Friday coffee cart. So some of the schools do different things with our ESE department. So it's a pretty great program. On the legislative side with ESE, so I wanted to kind of incorporate this, our House Bill 615 strengthens the IEP, so the individual education program process with parental notifications. So it passed unanimously in the House, and so it will be moving on to our governor to see about the next steps with that. Virtual Teen Town Hall, they had an event hosted by Olivia and Ava, our student representatives. The 2026 Teen Summit will be April 11th at the Government Service Building, and it will be, the flyers coming out very, very shortly, open to all middle and high school students. They receive 25 community service hours, lunches provided, lots of different workshops that will pertain to the youth. I was able to attend last year for a couple hours. It's pretty neat, and our PALs, our police officers, are very involved with that. FSBA, so Florida School Board Association, my other liaison, last week, Ms. Ruddy, Mr. Furry, and myself, we attended a FSBA training in Putnam County at their school district office. We focused on governance, best practices, and I would like to just say that I'm proud that Flagler County, we provide direct public access to all of our board docs policies, and even though you may think it's easy to access, some other counties it's not, so it was pretty neat. I'm also a member of the FSBA Leadership Service Committee, and we had a great call about our third calculation, so the Florida Education Finance Program. So statewide, many districts saw enrollment declines. The state overall was like over 46,000 students in the state have decreased from enrollment. We are remaining growth and thriving, so lots of moving parts, but we're doing pretty decent now. So I think because we do a lot for our district, so, just keep doing everything that we're doing to keep things moving along. So that's what I have, lots of updates, so thank you very much.
So the first update I'll share is not for a school that I liaison with, but an activity that I participated in. It was the Matanzas High School under Mr. Rinaldi and Miss Tincher hosted the debate and speech competition for area schools. We do have, I believe, a couple of students from FPC who work under Ms. Tincher at Matanzas, as well as some students in Matanzas who participated in this event, but the majority of the students were from surrounding districts. I was honored to serve as a judge at this event. It was wonderful. I was able to judge the informative speaking and the legislative. So they do the same Robert's Rules of Order and debate House bills that are in play and Senate bills. But it was a really rewarding program to watch middle schoolers, high schoolers participate. It would be really wonderful for us to expand such a program here in our district, and I do appreciate Ms. Tincture's time and commitment to serving as the coach for that program, as well as all the other duties she has. The second item is Rimfire. They have a night at the museum coming up this Thursday. It's a wonderful project where It really encompasses cross-curricular items where students present. Sometimes it's been science themed, sometimes historical, so I'm really looking forward to checking that out. And the BTMS SAC meeting is also this Thursday, so it's a wild ride there. For FPC, I have a couple of updates to communicate. You hopefully are, if you're a parent or student from FPC, you are receiving communications about course selection and academic planning. Please make sure that you're meeting with your guidance counselors if you have questions, and as those different tracks may have different requirements. 8th grade transition to FPC is also underway. We always love to have the middle schoolers go and visit the high school. We do the same for elementary to middle, and it's a wonderful event and provides a lot of insight into what the programs are that students can participate in, and they get really excited about that transition and feel very welcomed into their new school. There's a free SAT school day on March 4th. We know that for those students who are interested in pursuing college, SAT is a very important assessment, and so it's wonderful that we provide some of those resources free without having to pay for such tutoring through the schools. Then there's a SAT prep day, the 24th and 26th of this month. FF Week celebration, Future Farmers of America. FPC recently celebrated FFA Week, highlighting leadership, service, and community involvement of students in the agricultural and CTE programs. And this week, they showcased the strength of FPC's career and technical education offerings. There's also a 4-H district speaking contest on Wednesday at 6 p.m. SGA, the Student Government Association, they're very active at FPC, very impressive group of students. FPC Student Government Association attended the FASC State Conference and represented the school exceptionally well. That's their kind of competition, which was new to me. We did not have competition in Student Government Association when I went, but you know, that was eons ago. In addition to attending, FPC students presented 7 workshops to SDAs from across the state of Florida, demonstrating leadership and innovation. And then finally, state leadership recognition. Ava, Pascal, and Sophia Fredard delivered outstanding speeches and were inducted as state co-treasurers. And as a result, FPC will host the FASC State Conference in 2027. That's exciting. A significant honor that reflects the strong student leadership and culture at FPC. Also, as the federal liaison, the federal legislative liaison, I have some updates. As we know that the legislators in session, both at the state and at the federal levels. So I'm going to give you a couple of highlights and their potential impacts on what has transpired since the last update. Two big movements happened this past, I think, week and a half. Property taxes and related to the state budget and education funding. So the House advanced the 203 proposal, so it's going to, it's a constitutional amendment and would now move to voter approval in 2026 election, requiring 60% of the vote to move, in order for it to take effect in 2027. And currently that bill, as it stands, would not affect the school tax portion of property taxes and would apply to homestead exemption properties. There would be an indirect risk for schools as well as other tax run services. For example, large losses to county or city special district revenue could increase the pressure to shift costs to districts and shared services, which could be first responder agreements, facilities, things of that nature. So we'll keep an eye on it and just make sure that ahead of that vote, everybody is versed and educated in that bill so that you can vote based upon your beliefs.
The second is the House Bill 5001 and Senate Bill 2500, which relates to the funding for schools. The bills determine district operating dollars, categoricals, and statewide set-asides, which directly drive staffing, class sizes, instructional materials, and student services for fiscal year 26-27. So the final conference outcome can shift per district allocations and may add new requirements tied to the money. So essentially they're loosening the buckets but not loosening the requirements of the expenditures, and in some cases, based upon other bills that are in line, may put additional requirements on those buckets. In House Bill 5003, Safe Schools formula changes are in play. They are looking at implementing language that can change how Safe Schools dollars are distributed and what districts must do to qualify, which may have the impact of redistributing funds between large and small districts and altering staffing allocations. For example, there is a foundational element of putting into place some language around an SRO or coverage per a ratio of students. But in this particular bill at this time, there is not a stipulated ratio. And then finally, Senate Bill 7036, the education packet. This is a large packet where initially it was proposed that the state write the curriculum that is delivered within all schools, eliminating competition as well as the outsourcing of those textbooks and other curriculum resources. However, after reviewing a similar implementation that happened in Texas, where Texas has already spent $500 billion and did not even finish yet writing the curriculum for all of the grade levels and subject areas, that portion was removed from the bill, and so the rest is moving forward. Let's see here. There is another item, Senate Bill 1216, Public School Personnel Compensation, and this one proposes to expand or adjust the way districts can apply cost of living adjustments and modify certain limits related to pay adjustments under salary schedules. Essentially, it would increase the payroll flexibility and cost depending on local implementation and available funding, and would require our HR and finance departments to update salary schedule rules and communications. But again, there is not language in that bill to state where the funds or support to provide the minimum required cost of living adjustments would come from. Let's see, there's a lot more, but I would say in terms of things that have moved, that's probably, I think, about the extent of it at this point, that I think are kind of the bigger ones that have had some changes besides the IEP one that Ms. Ramirez had already referenced. And so those are my updates.
Okay, thank
On to
you, Ms. Ruddy. All right, so I will start off with Old Kings Elementary. So they have an upcoming field day, March 9th through the 12th, and this is going to be for all grades from VPK to 5th grade. They're looking for volunteers, and they're also looking for sponsors for water, snacks, and supplies. And for those who do sponsor the event, they will display a logo and your business name at the event. And also, in addition to that promotion, you also get some feel-good points for supporting schools. I took that from their website, so I like that. Also, the Flagler Ed Foundation, they hosted their second annual Health and Career Fair supporting healthy habits and future opportunities for our kids. So our career and technical outreach is not just for our higher grades. We're starting all the way down in our elementary schools. And to build on that, they also had a local dentist visit to promote good oral hygiene and how to choose snacks that are best healthy for, or most healthy for their teeth. And it was really nice of the dentist, Dr. Jessie Beck. She provided toothbrushes and toothpaste for every student that was in attendance, so that was really special. Moving on to Indian Trails. Applications are open now for the Matanzas High School, for Matanzas High School students who want to apply for the School Governance Association. It's a great opportunity if you are a student leader, someone who wants to make an impact. You are involved in planning events, and you represent the student body, build school spirit, and make a real impact on campus. So you can go online and fill out those applications on the Mustangs social media page. Also upcoming is the Mustang Roundup, April 16th, 5:30 to 7 p.m. And all prospective and new students are welcome to come and learn about the Mustang Nation. And also, they're working on starting a swim club with a partnership with Flagler Fluid, so that's in the works there, so stay tuned to see if that comes to fruition. Also, they have their real Mustangs that were out on a fishing trip this recently, and they went out to the Intercoastal to engage in those activities, and they had I saw a lot of the pictures. It seems like they had a great time out there. Also, the Mustang band members took part in the solo ensemble and received superior ratings across the board, and future problem solvers never disappoint, and they were involved in the Global Issues problem solving writing program, and they swept the board with district awards, so very proud of their success there. On the legislative front, Ms. Ruddy covered a lot of that already, but with the property tax proposal right now, that was the House bill, and we're still waiting on the Senate to put theirs out as well, and then the governor. So although that's a start, one good news is, one part of that is good news is that they're protecting school levy taxes, but as Ms. Ruddy said, there are other supports that the local county and the city governments participate in, especially in our school resource deputies. So those are areas where we will have to fill those gaps if their funding goes away. So I'm sure we will find a solution. And with the Safe Schools, I am encouraged that they're looking to increase the spending on that, because that is one of our unfunded mandates, that we have to make sure we have these SRDs at all of our campuses, but we don't receive all the funding directly from the state. So that's encouraging, but again, in smaller districts, we might be impacted by the removal of the base allocation, which is $250,000, which could squash some of the top end benefit in the increased funding for us. So we're constantly monitoring that and seeing how we'll be impacted and put our voice in to mitigate that if possible. So that's all I have for today. I'll leave it to you, Chair.
Lots going on. I'll try to be quick here to be mindful of the time. All right, so Chamber of Commerce, they will be hosting a Spring Fest March 7th in the Town Center from 10 to 4. This is a free event with vendors, live music, a car show, face painting, and bounce houses, so check that out. March 6th, Flagler Cares and Flagler Broadcasting are hosting a help-a-thon. This is an opportunity to donate skills or a service, donate food or gas cards, and donate to the emergency fund for local residents in need. This event helps support local families. All right, the Flagler County Education Foundation. I enjoyed getting a chance to meet with Ms. Rizzo last week and just refresh on hearing the mission of the Ed Foundation and their impact on our students. Last week they held a successful Mardi Gras ball, always a great event. And upcoming, please save the date for the Joe Rizzo Memorial Golf Classic, which will be held on April 20th. All right, Flagler Auditorium, they always have lots of great events. Let's see, today, I believe, is the Tina Turner tribute, so that will be tonight. And on March 4th, they have the I Am, He Said, a tribute to Neil Diamond with Matt B. and the Killer Bees. And March 12th will be Swan Lake Dance Alive Ballet. That sounds really great. Bunnell Elementary, February 26th, this week is Literacy Night. There will be activities, including sight word bingo for a chance to win some new books. There will be sign-ups for an after-school book club. And our author, Rachel Vasquez, will be there to sign her book, Pickle the Chicken Finds Her Sparkle. And on February 27th, Panera Bread will be having a fundraiser, and 25% of the sales will benefit Bunnell Elementary. And for Wadsworth Elementary, February 27th is music night for kindergarten through 2nd grade. This will include games, prizes. The kids will get to make music with instruments that are set up. Admission is $10 and includes pizza and a drink. And on March 28th, they will be having a craft fair and vendor market. So they are looking for crafters, vendors, food trucks, car enthusiasts. Please spread the word for that. This will be held from 9 to 1 in the bus loop. You can come out to shop or participate. And for the GW Carver Center, open gym continues. I believe that's Monday through Friday for elementary students. They go home around 5:30 so that they can make sure they get home safely. And 8 middle school students completed the life skills program and earned a $100 stipend. And for the Flagler Historical Society, congrats to Pete Johnson. Earlier this year, he is now the president of the Palm Coast Historical Society. And on April 11th, the 2nd annual Bunnell History Day will be held from 10 to 5 and will also include vendors, food trucks, and historical reenactments. So that sounds like that will be a lot of fun. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the Voters Guide Cover Design Contest with our Supervisor of Elections, Ms. Katie Leonard.
Well, good afternoon, School Board.
Welcome.
It's great to be here. I really enjoyed the updates, so I'm glad we have those. So this is the 16th annual contest. I can't believe it's been 16 years, but we have probably a record number of submissions. I somehow got them to fit on the tables. You probably saw them
Yes.
as you were walking in. We had 82 submissions from our high school students in FPC and Matanzas. So thanks. Just want to shout out real quick to the teachers for adding this to their already probably full curriculum. They are great to work with, and we got some really great designs. So this is a real world design project for our students in high school. They get to apply their skills and have a chance to win. This is the cover of our voter's guide. Each year we do this. So if you guys want, we have these really cute clothespins that you guys have this year, and you can pick your top 3. So when you go out into the hallway, you just place it right on top of the design. I don't know, we might have a recount, we'll see.
All right.
All right,
Are
you
we
guys
ready
ready?
to do it?
I think we
Let's do it.
have like double the number of submissions as last year, right?
Yes. Uh-huh. One, two, there you go. One, two, one more.
Hanging chads on this one.
No, hopefully not.
Give me the title. I tried to block it. Give me the picture.
No. We don't do that. Yeah.
Exactly. Even that is, right?
Well, we have 3 designs and a 3-way tie.
Oh,
So I think I'll give everybody one, and you got to pick among the 3.
okay.
Is that a good?
Yep, I think that's the best way to do it.
You're the supervisor of election. How are you doing?
Your call.
That's right. That's right. It'll give them time to campaign.
That we find out.
Okay. We have a winner.
All right, yay.
I'll let the crowd see.
Okay, Brad.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
And we'll find out at the next meeting.
That's right.
Who the student is.
Next month.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well,
And
thank you so
for
much.
seeing
Yeah,
this
thank
through
you.
every
Thank
year.
you so
I
much.
know that with all things you've got going on, to take the time to do this, we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's worth it every year. Thank you. Flagler.
Moving on, do we have any changes or additions to the agenda?
One swap, and I do apologize. I thought this was made 6.02 and 6.01 should just be reversed. We're starting off with our school improvement plan, mirror your reflection with our school principals, and then going into our strategic plan.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Move approval?
Second?
Motion by Mr. Furry and second by Ms. Ruddy. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Okay, so we will move on then to 6.02, which is school-wide improvement.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any public comments?
Yes, we have a public comment by Mr. Ron Long on agenda item 6.01.
I'll read this to stay in the 3 minutes. Madam Chair, Superintendent Moore, members of the board. My name's Ron Long. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to acknowledge that this strategic plan correctly identifies areas where our district is struggling. Recognizing the problem is an important first step, but I believe we owe it to our students and our community to be honest about what the data is really telling us. We look at the districts from 2017 to 2025, it becomes clear that what we're seeing here is not about moving Flagler County schools forward, but about trying to get us back to where we already were almost a decade ago. In English language arts, the district was at 59% English proficiency in 2017. Today, we are still at the 59%. In math, we were at 63% in 2017, and after years of difficulty, we're now at 62%. In social studies, the goal is 73%, and that's exactly where we stood in 2017. This isn't progress, this is just simply recovery. The most troubling data point is kindergarten readiness. While the stated goal is 55%, the actual readiness rate for 2025-26 school year is 37%. That tells us that students are entering our schools already behind, and the response in this plan doesn't really reflect urgency the way that these numbers are demanding. My concern is not that the district lacks awareness, it's that the solutions being offered rely on familiar language and doublespeak, reviews, training, alignment, equity, without clearly explaining what will be done differently in the classrooms, how success will be measured along the way, and what happens if these goals are missed again. If this board truly wants to see different results, there are some concrete steps that could make a real impact. For example, setting non-negotiable district-wide expectations for early literacy and for math instructions, especially in grades K through 3, requiring dedicated intervention time built into school days for students who are not on grade level, and publishing clear school-by-school progress updates so that parents and the public can see whether these strategies are working or not, and tying leadership, evaluation, and support to measurable student growth, not to just simply implementing a new process. And prioritizing time and resources in the classroom, not just meetings and reports. These kind of actions move outcomes, not just language on a page. I respectfully ask the board to push for strategic plans that is specific, accountable, and focuses on exceeding past performances, not merely recovering to them. Our students deserve more than just reassurance, they deserve results. Thank you for your time.
Okay, all right, moving on to our school-wide improvement plan, mid-year reflection with Mr. Scott Reynolds and our school principals.
Come on.
Inside seats.
We'll put our high schools down here on the end since our elementary are kind of gravitating to the middle. We'll put our come on in. Let's do this. And Dr. O'Brien, you can sit there next to Mr.
Everybody got a chair?
Everybody's here.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Are we going in the order of schools listed here, or is it going to be alphabetical order or the seat order?
Yes, we go. Mr. Reynolds will let us know.
Good afternoon, Board, Superintendent Moore. We have all of our lovely principals with us here today. Minus one. And they are going to share some highlights from their mid-year reflections for their school-wide improvement plans. They're going to take about a minute or two each to go through, and then we can open up to any specific questions that you have about their reflection. And we're just going to make it easy and just go down the line. And so we're going to start with Mr. Bobby.
Well, thanks for having us, guys. I'm Bobby Bosterdale, principal of FPC. We have some really good data to share for our mid-year review. Last year, when we talk about students with disabilities, last year we needed about 41% proficiency. Our goal this year was 44%. And while we have not yet met that benchmark, we are seeing encouraging growth so far this year. In both 9th and 10th grade ELA, we've had over 60% of our students with disabilities show positive growth in PM1 to PM2. Our next focus is going to be strengthening our common assessments, recentering our PLT conversations on student mastery, and improving collaboration between teachers and our facilitators, which has been a great effort this year. Area 2 for our acceleration, we're currently at 42%, which is really good as we move towards our goal of 50%. We anticipate a significant growth this spring because we are going to have over 700 industry certification exams scheduled, so we're hoping that is going to be huge. We've improved access by rebranding options for our department press, adjusting schedules to increase senior exposure, and also centralizing certification testing. Next year, we're moving to pairing career explorations with a half a credit of personal finance, and that's going to allow more opportunities. Also, we've also added professional success, which is a class for 11th and 12th graders, similar to our DCT, which will also open up more opportunities for them as well. And when it comes to our ELA lowest quartile, we were at 49% last year proficiency. We've improved to 50.3 in grades 9 and 48.5 in grades 10 so far, with approximately 64% of our students showing positive growth. Our next steps for those also include implementing consistent common assessments and strengthening our data-driven collaboration conversations that we're having. But overall, while our proficiency targets have not yet been met fully, we are seeing strong student growth and have clear, actionable adjustments in place for our second semester.
On your data here, I see where, I just want to make sure I'm understanding, it says students with disabilities made a positive increase in SS. Is that social studies, or is that, but when I link, that looks like it's an ELA graph? Or standards?
Scale score.
Scale score. Okay, thank you. So just to, I'm just wrapping my head around here. Progress monitoring 1, students with disabilities for grade 9 was at 9%. So now we're at 11.6% proficiency for ELA.
Correct.
And then, so in the second visual, it says 9th grade ELA students with disability growth from PM1 to PM2, 62% of 9th grade students with disabilities made a positive increase. So you're saying 62% of the students made an increase, but overall, the increase was 2.6% on average? I'm trying to just understand the data.
I said, yeah, I just said over 60%.
Yeah, so it wasn't, even though they increased in scale score, they might not have increased to the point of being a level 3 yet. So the second graph is just that they've earned a higher scale score during PM2 than PM1. That first data point is that they've reached a level 3 for achievement.
Okay, and so what we're seeing is that with that 11.6% for 9th grade and 17% for 10th grade, that's a pretty big gap between the 44% for general ed students?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so what was the increase for general ed students? How does the SWD compared with the increase for general ed?
Let me pull up that PC. So between PM1 and PM2, for all students, I'll just combine 9th and 10th grade, they increased by 8%. It was 42%.
So about 4 times the amount.
And 50% in PM2.
Okay, so Mr. Bossardette, on what are the items that you need support in order to help not only grow the student with disabilities, but continue your growth in the general ed? Especially, I'm seeing some issues around algebra. For example, I think you mentioned something about common assessments. We have a lot of common assessments in the K through 8 space. So you see that as a specific challenge among the high school grades?
It has been. I definitely want to give credit though to the entire district as we've moved towards those common summative assessments in our district, which we've seen significant growth in. I mean, it's a way of progress monitoring. I think the difference in secondary, we offer so many standalone courses alone as well. But when you start taking a look at our ELA, our algebra, our geometry, we have made significant strides in those common assessments. So I do feel that our data is supporting that, but that's always an area that we continue to get buy-in with, especially with some of our new teachers. When we did the state of the school this year at FPC alone, we've got over 50% of our instructional staff has been hired within the last 4 years on our campus as well. So you're bringing in a lot of folks that have ideas from former districts and a lot of good conversations that are reviewing some of the assessments that we currently have and looking at some opportunities over the summer for some professional development to bring those folks together to really review what we have, but also increase the number and the type of assessments that we're giving.
So would you feel that perhaps in terms of the staffing, if it's the focus on, let's say, math and student with disabilities, that we maybe need to prioritize ensuring getting more experienced folks in those areas? And then with regard to the common assessments, we have the summative, but you're looking for more formative assessments?
nice to shift there. I think step one is getting our summatives in line so we can structure our supports in place too. Like, for instance, we have online tutoring for our algebra, which we see a lot of success in. That department itself has really leaned in on their common assessment. So when they're looking at the formative assessments they're given throughout the week, that online tutoring you can take advantage from whatever your teacher is. It's not a teacher lottery that you're going to a one-stop shop. You know where they're at as far as basic, and you know the assessments that they're given in that class. So yeah, that's an area that we definitely strive to improve on is our common formatives. But I think before anything, we've got to get a complete agreement and buy-in with our summatives that we use.
Okay.
I
Ms. Chairman, I would like to maybe have us potentially discuss 2 items relative to this that I saw a trend between MHS and FPC, and that is the progress monitoring assessments, as well as perhaps with the algebra, since that's both a pain point. Let's take a look at the curriculum leading up from middle grades into the high school to ensure that there's proper alignment. For instance, K through 8 is very heavy on modeling instruction, especially in math. But then when I look at some of the curriculum for algebra, you then take away that modeling. So if we then pivot the way we're instructing students in the math, maybe that is a hurdle to cross for them. So are we receiving the proper foundations leading up to the algebra piece? And is that kind of connecting? And maybe could the high school teachers maybe have some crosswalks with 7th and 8th grade and say, okay, what are the strategies used to teach these maybe pre-algebra foundations that we could trigger remembrance of when they're now moving up to the advanced algebra foundation. So I think we need to look at the curriculum piece there and then take a look at the common assessments. I think those are valid points that have been made in both of these progress updates.
Okay, so you want to add that to a future agenda?
Yeah, I think we need to take a look at that as a board in order to support the success.
And really, respectfully, I think majority of that is on the school district side of it. And so we will gladly come and bring forward to you guys the work that we are already doing in those areas. But we absolutely can bring that forward as an item.
Well, for example, a policy might be, I think, was it Matanzas is using where they're doing 1A in conjunction with the algebra. If that's something that's working, do we say, well, unless the student's at a 3 or above after progress monitoring 1, we make that a policy that is required? Or, is there an entrance piece that we take to determine what are the background information that a student's missing and provide supplemental material before they start taking that algebra?
Okay, so I guess we'll discuss that at another workshop.
And I have a question with your algebra. So I know Matanzas, and I don't know if it's the same, so just because I go to their SAC meetings, do your algebra classes have also interventionists that are incorporated somehow? Okay, so it's like structured the same. When did that start at FPC?
We've had supported classes for the last 3 years to find
Okay.
Before I got there, I believe they had similar. We run it a little bit different over the last 3 years, but yeah, we run a complete supported class model in the ELA and math.
Okay, no, I think that's important because a lot of the math, it's reading as well, so I'm glad to hear that, so that's good. And I like how the scheduling adjustments have been changed, so like more students are increasing those Diploma Plus courses because they don't know about it, so I think like everyone's doing a great job with that, so thank you for talking about that, and I like the numbers, so the 700s.
All right. I'm Travis Lee, proud principal of Rimfire Elementary. I'm focusing on Area Focus 1. Our Area Focus 1 focuses on our professional learning communities and implementing best practices across the board, K through 5, so that we can overall increase our student achievement on the FAST assessments by 5%. And so we're pleased to say where we were at the midpoint. We were ahead of where we were at this point last year from PM2 in math by 6%, and ELA we were at the same, but in our school grade assessed
areas in ELA, we were 3% ahead of where we were. I'm sorry, 2.5% ahead of where we were. So we're definitely showing progress and are ahead of where we were at the PM2 mark, knowing that we were assessed for 4 weeks ahead of where we were last year. Some of the things that we've done, focusing on our professional learning communities, making sure that our teachers have understanding of best practices centered around the 4 questions, making sure that we identify what it is that we want the students to know. How are we going to intervene when they demonstrate that they don't understand? First, how are we going to show that they know? Now, how are we going to intervene for the ones that don't actually get the standard once we assess? And then what are we going to do to enrich the students that do get it? And so making sure that that's common language across all of our PLCs from all grade levels. We've also had an increase in data-driven instruction, as well as our conversation amongst our grade levels, and then intense intervention and support for our students and identifying students that need that support, and providing informative assessments to make sure that we can provide that efficiently. Some of the action steps that we have had ongoing that we're looking to implement in the second half of the year, we've done a school grade change grouping, so just looking at our students based on the FTE windows and where the students that will end up being in our calculation, making sure that we're showing growth with all of those students to meet our goals that we have set out in the school improvement plan. Not that we don't support all students, but definitely making sure that we support our students that's going to make our school grade scores. We've had walkthroughs with our district instructional team to support intervention across our campus and our ESC support facilitators, but then also within our classrooms, looking at our core foundations and our primary grades, and then looking at the instructional practice in our grades 3 through 5. And then we've also done increasing the rigor trainings across the board for all instructional staff at our professional learning and our January 6 PL, so that we can continue to implement improvement across the board. So we know these action steps will help us, as we have each of the last 3 years overall as a school shown improvement, and we're looking to do the same as we're poised to be an A school at the close of this year.
Board Chair, questions? So I commend you on your Black and African American increase of 10% over the previous year. But what stands out is the second grade. Looks like it's second grade ELA students with disabilities is down 16% year over year.
So yeah, we're definitely looking at how we support our students with disabilities campus-wide, and then we definitely look and drill down at the grade level data, making sure that we are providing informative assessment across each standard, and then making sure that when the students don't get it, that we can go back and support them in grasping that standard.
Right, but this decline in I think it's second grade. I put K2, but it might just be second grade. I'll have to look at the data again. It's down 16%. So talk to me, what are your observations? Did we adopt a new curriculum in this time? Is there an issue with the curriculum? Do you have the majority of your newer teachers in that area? What could account for what I see as a significant drop?
We have had a little bit of change with instructional staff in that area, but there hasn't been an adopted change with the curriculum. That is something that we're looking at, even though we were assessed a little bit earlier, making sure that we provided the rigor across the board training. So we're increasing the rigor from not just our ESC support facilitators, but our classroom teachers. We're carrying the burden of getting students to achieve.
Yeah, I would just add overall, when we're looking at PM2 to PM2, especially for ELA, they tested about 5 or 6 instructional weeks earlier this year than last year, so just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. I understand that, but I think when I also just do a cross comparison, I think this is the largest decrease, right? So that's where, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just trying to problem solve together and identify if there's something that could be a contributing factor here. So you said, I'm also looking at student mobility. So did you have a concentration of higher numbers of students who are in and out of your grades in those younger grades, or do you not have that data in terms of like
I
where,
don't have
which grades
that
were
specifically
impacted?
by grade level on how that's impacted. Like I said, we did an analysis of the students that definitely will count in our school grade calculation and making sure we're supporting.
Right.
Not that we don't support all, because if the students show that they have not mastered the standard, we definitely go back and provide either reteaching or support, or, get the MTSS process
Right.
started.
I mean, the reality though is if, we do our best to try to stay on a pacing, right? However, we want to prioritize student competency over pacing. And if a parent is moving their students over several schools and we see a direct correlation to that migration or mobility, I think it's important to communicate to parents about that there may be some loss. Because also, if you've one teacher and maybe 2 support folks with 20 students in a room, you can't have 20 different lessons, right? It's impossible. Otherwise, we're going to be putting people on devices, and people learn from people, not 100% from devices. So I would like to dig in, if it's possible, to find out if the mobility issues in those grade levels are contributing to some of this difference in rimfire, because your population seemed to have a higher mobility rate as indicated in your qualitative observations of your school improvement plan.
Anybody else?
Yes, please. So thank you very much. Couple questions. So I see you have not been able to hire an ESE certified staff, so I just have a few things. Is there anything that we can do to assist that, like as a district? Has it been worked on? Is that normal for this to be, for a campus to not have one, and how long? I'm just wondering, will this help you? Like, will this help, right? So what can we do, or what do we need to know? Is this normal to not have one for this?
So we do have ESE certified and trained staff.
Okay.
Where we have typically also had them as in our intervention positions, which comes out of Title I. We have not been able to do that this year. So we've had to hire elementary certified with reading endorsement. They can still provide the Tier 3 intervention. We just haven't had 2 teachers in those seats that are also ESE certified. But we do have staff that's providing reading intervention and math intervention to our students in those roles. It's just not that they're ESE certified.
Because in the past, those roles that have served as intervention, those individuals have also been certified with ESE. And so though they don't need that certification, he's reflecting on that as a difference that he is noticing, is that right now they have had individuals in there that have had gen ed, reading endorsement, where in the past those individuals have been gen ed, reading endorsement, and ESE. So that is the reflection of that. As for the students that with disabilities, they're being serviced by teachers who are certified in that area. This is an area that does not require someone to have a certification in that area, and so that was his reflection, is of a difference.
And it has increased maybe the caseload for our ESE support facilitators. We're servicing ESE students.
Okay.
But we still do have staff that's able to provide support and intervention in those roles.
Okay, so you feel, I was just, because reading just challenges, so if there's anything that, that can be done to help with that, or with, obviously it will trickle down to students, or we need to market specifics more, but.
Yeah, so
yeah.
we screen the applicants just like as they come in, but we're also looking for the fit and instructional ability of the candidates sitting in front of us, and so that's just the direction that we've had to go. It would be great to have the ESE certified, but we have staff that's capable in those roles currently.
Ms. Moore, do we strategically place teachers across the district, like for example, let's say that we have a school that from progress monitoring 1 to 2 has shown that a decrease year over year, right, in comparison to the last year's group. And they have a faculty position open, but yet we have another school where maybe they're excelling, and instead of getting somebody new and green and putting in that school that is struggling, do we consider taking somebody who is more seasoned from a school that is thriving and put them in that position, and put the new person in the school that is at or above the data points we're looking for?
We do not involuntarily transfer staff in that manner. We do not. And that language is written out in our collective bargaining agreement of what that would need to look like in order for us to be able
Right,
to
I
do
do
that.
understand you have to like provide them a compensation of a transfer, right?
And that's just our staff. They are hired, or they are interviewed and placed by school. We do not place them by district. We have not historically done that, no.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll move on.
Mr. Rinaldi.
Mr. Rinaldi.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike Rinaldi, principal of Matanzas High School. I'm going to share with you the area of focus 1 of our school improvement plan, which was increase the percentage of students graduating having earned a college and career acceleration by 5%. We have to be very intentional with how we provide the awareness for the opportunities that lie for these students beyond high school. And that's been our major focus, is disseminating that information and providing those opportunities and kind of guiding our students there. So what I'll do is I'll share a little bit about how we're doing that and where we've ended up at this point. We've planned internal program of study tours with our current 9th graders, because what we realized is just because they're going to Matanzas High School doesn't mean they know exactly what's out there for them. So we wanted to not just do it for incoming 8th graders, but also do it for current 9th graders to promote the awareness of our Diploma Plus opportunities. In addition to that, we've reestablished our Embry-Riddle dual enrollment in addition to our UF and our Daytona State offerings. We've added health science program of studies, which is allied health, which has multiple certification exams during this year. We have our guidance are giving one-on-one presentations for course selection, emphasizing college and career readiness, and all of our Diploma Plus options for next year. New this year, we've tried to promote an ACE support group for our parents, because we realize that being an ACE student alone, the parents sometimes struggle with it too, about what to do with their students, how to guide them to success, and what supports they can give them. We've also had our ACE diploma ceremony, because what we realized is in order to build a program, you have to celebrate the program. So this was the very first year we had something like that, where we recognized our ACE diploma graduates. Let's see, what else? We had our new next year, we have our career and exploration planning is replacing our DCT. We're adding an EKG to our Allied Health and Diploma Plus program next year. We're adding a 911 emergency operator course. And we're adding a second Embry-Riddle course, which is a private pilot course, which is a full year. We've created a direct study course to our construction, because, as some of you might know, in our construction program, we have a tiny house project, which we've partnered up with the Flagler Foundation, and we are going to construct tiny homes for a rehabilitation community in Bunnell. So we're doing that. During the fall, our fall testing results, we had a 77% pass rate for the certification exams we've given so far. We've given 43 in entrepreneurship and small business, 19 in legal support professions, and 1 in our carpentry level 1 course. We are projected to administer 1,000 industry certification exams this school year with a projected passing rate of 71%. That would mean that we would have 725 industry certification exams passed this school year. This would be approximately 65 more than last year.
Questions?
You also have another area of focus, math. Did you want to take it BIP and ELA? Did you want to, or I'm sorry, lowest quartile? Did you want to take it bit by bit, or did you want to go over all?
I was just doing the focus area number 1.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's amazing. We definitely love your efforts there and recognize that. I do feel, and I think I've long stated that, I believe we need to have a transition discussion with guidance counselors for every child from 6th grade to middle school and 8th grade to high school. If we can have multiple yearly IEP meetings for students on IEPs, then I would think that we should have a required career and technical progress planning session with a guidance counselor for all students. And I would like to see how, we can make that happen. I know Ms. Moore has discussed scalability in that, but.
We do that for 8th grade going into 12th grade for course selections. We did that
with
last
a parent?
year.
Because I did not have that
with a parent, with
children.
the students, but we do invite
That's what I'm
parents.
saying.
No, we do invite parents to come, because what we have found is our staff, when we do the events in the evening, our staff is present, but we don't get the turnout. And so we do invite families to come and be a part of those transition meetings, if they would like to have a conversation with the school counselor related to their students coming from 8th grade into high school. We did that last school year. It was our first year of doing it scale for both schools.
Are we handing out invitations to these parents? Are we scheduling it? Are we making it offering as they can come have a Zoom meeting with them? Or does it have to be just personal at an event?
I have an 8th grader,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
even today, I received an email to my personal email, because I have an 8th grader. Hey, the deadline for, such and such, and I've had a lot of communication.
Deadline for what?
For
Like the course selection?
for everything.
Or
So, like,
what I'm saying is, did you have a meeting with a guidance counselor to sit there and plan your options for your child?
So I had the opportunity to go to Matanzas. I spoke physically to all the program diplomas, whatever program I wanted. I've emailed personally from my personal email, hello, Mr. or Mrs. whoever it is that I wanted to talk to. My son has had everything to his email. He did his essay. I didn't even know that he had it. He's like, I'm working on it for ACE. I know, like, 3 years ago there was a lot of challenges, and I know last year was the beginning of, like, hey, let's get guidance counselors in the door. They're actually going to Indian Trails Middle School to sit down with all the students to work on all their scheduling. And then as a parent, I'm sure if I wanted to go, I could. However, I have access. I have a spreadsheet of all the classes that he could or couldn't take. I, as a parent, am going to try to help pre-plan and say, hey, this would be good, I think. But it's up to him, But the parents that are listening, if you have an 8th grader, you need to check your email, because there's spreadsheets. It's all Excel. It's very organized. I feel pretty confident.
And I'm looking for more than just the course selection for the next year. I'm looking for insight into, because once you start middle school, the foundation you lay there depends on, are you going to be able to get into ACE, or are you going to be into IB?
There's a whole
and somebody
pathway.
sat there and had that conversation.
So we have not done from 5th grade to 6th grade, but we absolutely do from 8th grade to 9th grade, giving families multiple opportunities to come and be present in course selection, present to be given more information about the programs of study that we offer, all of those things, and opportunities for them to follow up after which. And so we do have some families who say, no, I want to be a part of the conversation. We have some families that say, no, I'm going to preload my child with, here's the document. They get the document in advance of the school counselor coming, and here are the things that we've talked about as a family that we want to have. And so definitely areas that we can improve in that, but we have put into place this team work that was not being previously done. And so we absolutely do sit with our students coming out of 8th grade into 9th grade in order to get their course selection. And then once they get to high school, because the high school counselors are doing this, they then continue to communicate again and say, this is your track. This is what we've got you down to select. Of course, we invite them to the different nights that they have to come. If they're a student that we have identified that would benefit from being in the IB program or the ACE program, those families have gotten emails directly specific to them with their kid's name on it saying, come and be a part of IB, come and be a part of ACE, meaning come and come to the info session so that we can help you get on those tracks. Absolutely, we do that.
Great progress. Thank you.
And I do want to say, I know, like, when I was at FPC, what I noticed in their cafeteria, but I know Matanzas does probably something similar, but the guidance counselors are on, they're on, like, little tables with wheels, going around. So that may be something, when the high school guidance counselors come, maybe go to the cafeteria and just be out there with signs. I mean, they're holding signs like, hey, come check me out. But I thought that was
And let me say, and to that point, both high schools are now currently meeting with every single current student in their school related to course selection for next year. And they have communicated with the families on a regular basis around the deadlines we're meeting. We even got a message yesterday that said, if your child hasn't met with your guidance counselor, don't fret. It's still coming. We're doing this for the entire month. And so as a collective, we've worked to streamline our choice window. We've worked to streamline our programs of study. We've worked to streamline all of those different pieces so that our only small group of school counselors that we have at the high school can take care of all of our high school students and then still have time, because we'll go next after we take care of our high school students, we'll shift into our 8th grade students, getting them prepared. But it's only one group of people that are doing this work, and so we've streamlined all of that across both schools in order for our school counselors to be available to do that, as well as do the other things that are required within their job.
Great.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
We still have math to go for MHS though. Algebra,
So
your second area of focus?
they're just highlighting one of their areas, but if you have questions about the other areas.
Yeah, that I think was my question.
Yes,
So,
they each are doing just one. You can ask.
Sorry.
about others.
Okay, I'll get the hang of it at some point in my life. Okay, so Mr. Rinaldi, I know that you're new at the helm of MHS and you've done a great job taking over here. As you know, last year MHS had a drastic drop in their algebra scores, but then already this year we're now 9% lower than that from the previous year. And you've had the Algebra 1A running concurrently, and you're saying that, those students have shown gains, but overall, still those declines are occurring there. So what are you seeing as root causes of that?
Well, several factors. You hate to blame it on certain things, you don't want to, but we have new teachers in Algebra 1 this year. They're still learning the culture and what our expectations are in the classroom.
Are they certified in math, or
Yes,
are
they
they
are.
non-certified?
Yes, they are. They're not out of field, they're certified. We've tried to replace, we had a teacher leave mid-year, but putting those excuses aside, our Algebra 1A is performing. Actually, our students in Algebra 1A are outperforming our students in Algebra 1.
Are those the same teachers teaching 1A?
It's the same, no, we have a separate teacher teaching 1A and a separate teacher teaching algebra, and those teachers PLC together. Those
Okay.
teachers come up with common lessons. They identify the strategic areas that the students need more support in, and what happens is the 1A really emphasizes, so the 1A is functioning almost like an intensive reading would function to an ELA. So we're paying close attention to what interventions need to take place and identify what the students are lacking, get that, and then they take it to Algebra 1. We recognize that we also have to do more concentrated small group instruction. We were doing more of a whole group instruction at the beginning of the year, and we realized that certain students can work more independently while certain students were lagging behind, and we had to get interventions in there. So we had some of our support personnel, some of our interventionists go in there and actually work with those students in small group while the teacher was still going with the whole group instruction. So we've changed our model midstream a little bit when we recognized that after PM2, after our progress monitoring 2, that we were still falling behind and lacking. So we're waiting to see what happens. Our IXL progress monitoring, we have taken the opportunity we have a PSAT and SAT day coming up. So we have implemented the IXL program to give a diagnostic on that day to all of our algebra and geometry students that aren't involved in the SAT. And therefore, that'll help us identify before PM3 any students that still have needed interventions that need to take place.
So kind of a
Let me
follow-up
also
question
add,
on,
something that I think is good for the group and the conversation, because it came up a little bit, is I want, just so that we are all aware, we have a very robust algebra program in middle school. And so many of the students that are coming in and taking algebra in 9th grade are students that may not be the highest already coming into math. And so, again, not necessarily an excuse, but I think looking at the fact of the implications of our very robust math program in high school.
But that hasn't changed in the last 3 years.
It has not,
and
it has not
but,
changed.
you know, when you see the data change like
But
that.
the students, those student populations do change.
So, Mr. Rinaldi, you guys use IXL for, I saw in your notes that you're having an issue with fidelity. What's the issue with the fidelity in IXL?
The issue with fidelity in IXL is a lot of the teachers felt that they couldn't get through the entire progress monitoring of the IXL in one class period. And when they did that.
Does it start them over at the beginning?
And that, no, it doesn't start them over at the beginning, but when they went into a next one, it cut into their instruction, because they were
Okay.
following their curriculum maps. And
Sure.
they were having an issue with IXL, which we have addressed, and we're trying to work around that. That's why
Okay.
we're giving it to them as a whole group, to where time and following the curriculum map do not interfere with each
So
other.
what
We've
would
set
that-
aside time for IXL.
What data would that give you different than the data you already have, which shows that the students are already behind, right? We already have the data that says, hey, we've got we're 36% lower from, or 36% lower from 2 years ago, 9% lower from the year after. We already know we have an issue. Is it that we don't know which specific skills?
The IXL gives you a broader spectrum to look at exactly which types of deficiencies are happening on what standards. It breaks it down by individual standards a lot clearer than what we would get from a PM1 or a PM2.
Do you need, with your newer staff, do you need them to go and observe, maybe like Mr. Bostodet hasn't, is it Miss Mulvihill that teaches algebra? No, she teaches chemistry. Who's the algebra teacher over at FPC who's been there a while?
We've got a second right now.
I know there's several very experienced algebra teachers. Could they benefit from going and observing? Because I know it's difficult in high school where you have a limited number of classes, right? Do a peer observation thing.
I think teachers would always benefit from collaboration
Is that
in any set scenario.
Would you be open to that, Mr. Bostodet? Mr. Moore, do you feel that's appropriate to
use that. Yeah,
facilitate? Because I'm really concerned about this, and I feel like we have to have an intervention here to give Mr. Rinaldi some additional tools.
I will also add that our secondary math specialist, when the PM2, which isn't state, it's the IXL PM2, because we don't get one from the state for high school math. When those results came out and we saw these numbers, we immediately put a plan into action. So she has, she's out there at least once a week, if not twice a week, working with those teachers on their instruction, their small group instruction. And we are constantly looking at the model that Matanzas is using this year. Because, for example, FPC is still using the, I will say, old Algebra 1A model that Flagler has used, where it's a double block algebra. So it's just really just a double period of algebra. They've separated it into two separate teachers. One teacher is focused on Algebra 1, one is really working on those foundational skills. So we're hoping that that's why we're seeing the Algebra 1A scores being so much higher than the Algebra 1 regular scores. So we have put in a plan of support, and we jumped into action right away, and we're continuing to look on a weekly basis at what's going on.
Okay, thank you for that.
Is there opportunity, unless it is already being done, where students that are in 8th grade that are going into high school and they're scheduled for Algebra 1, that they're able to take, it's like an online class. I remember like in 5th graders when they were going into middle school, it was, if you are projected to be in Algebra 1, we recommend that you take this summer, you know, and it was kind of like a fun little thing, and I think, so yeah, do they have that for the incoming freshmen? I mean, maybe you do, but maybe that might help, or maybe it won't, but.
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
We currently have a bridge to Algebra 1 that we developed a couple years ago. It's mainly for the middle schoolers who are being accelerated into Algebra 1, but it is at a point now that we could implement it online for students going into 9th grade Algebra 1.
Because it might help, and then I know there was like, I don't know, it made it positive, like, oh, if you do this, you know, this summer, and it's not a class, but it's just to prepare and prep, maybe make it fun somehow and prepare them, but maybe, if we have the tools already, but
Yep.
just.
We will look into something.
Definitely look into that.
Okay, we're ready to move on?
Thank you.
Move on to Belter.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Gilbert, Assistant Principal, Belter. I'm filling in for Mrs. D. Ford. She has a leadership conference that she had to attend. Our area of focus will be Area 2. So our focus for the current school year is on closing the achievement gap for students with disabilities. Our measurable goal is to increase ELA FAST achievement by 4%, moving from a baseline of 34% to a target of 38%. Current progress, we are currently on track to meet the goal. Our mid-year data from PM1 to PM2 shows an achievement increase from 12% to 30%. This 18% gain in the first half of the year demonstrates significant growth and suggests we are positioned to surpass our initial target by year end. Our challenges and strategic adjustments. During the fall semester, we encountered high enrollment in our students with disabilities in Tier 3 subgroups, which led to large intervention groups, predominantly in 3rd grade. To maintain the quality of instruction, we adjusted schedules for our support facilitators and Title I teachers. We prioritized 3rd grade to ensure small group intensive assistance where it is most critical. Our next steps is that we will roll out our focus boards this year, and that has been a successful all of our teachers. However, with some support facilitators having multiple grades, we are streamlining the process for them. This adjustment will allow our support facilitators to remain focused on student IEP goals and academic achievement. In addition, we will also be conducting another day-to-day with our support facilitators, our academic coaches, and district ESE support to help our students in positioning ourselves to finish the year strong.
So thank you for pitch hitting for your staff, Mr. Ford and Mr. Ruddy. I'll make sure I'll give him lots of extra questions when he gets home.
Thank you.
Just if you could share a little bit, it sounds like from your report that the PLC, you guys have been doing these PLCs for quite some time, but it still seems that they're very much focused on procedure as opposed to you know, making the critical analysis to move student data forward, right? There still seems to be a lot going on in terms of just the operationalizing of the PLCs. So what's support that you need in order to move that to the next level, and we can get beyond the process that's involved in PLC, and then see some, you know, actual like measurement of moving that data happen?
So that is happening now. We are working towards our data disaggregation with our CTPs. Our support facilitators do join our general teachers, so this day will just be for the support facilitators to look at that data. It's a great point because it's important when we're answering the 4 questions, but we're also looking at that data. And one of the things that we are doing is looking at our common assessments as well, looking at that data, and then those students that don't get it, how are we grouping those students? How are we differentiating instruction? So we want to have, and our coaches, we have a new ELA coaches, you know, we now are working on having that data ready for them so that we're not wasting a lot of time piecing through that in the time that we have. And then looking at how are we grouping students in real time when they take a common assessment or a summative, how are we grouping them in immediate time so that they can remediate or go into groups? And that may be working with another teacher in addition, like this teacher is taking those students that are needing that intensive instruction, and then we've got another teacher that may be taking our students that are a little bit higher and helping to push them even higher.
Can you tell me a little bit about the walkthroughs? I see that you've emphasized that's been a strength, but also struggle with the emergencies happening and pulling administrators out. Do you have, when you do these walkthroughs, are you gathering data that you're monitoring or tracking through those walkthroughs? Or are they more like, hey, I'm going to pop in and this is just a capture moment in time and maybe provide some feedback? Or do you track that data over time? Are you seeing any trends with those?
So our math coach has just created a new tool for us to use that does track that information and that data. One of the questions as an admin team that we had is, are we giving them purposeful feedback in real time so that they can use it and then adjust their instruction immediately? So we do have our walkthrough tools now do involve us giving actionable feedback and then monitoring it and following back up. Either it could be a coaching cycle or it could be an administrator that does step in to help coach.
Great, thank you.
We also have a Flagler Schools walkthrough tool that is available for schools to use that has a dashboard that they can track their data.
The teachers can track, or is it for the administrators?
It's mainly for the administrators, but it's not locked down for teachers to not have access.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on.
Hi, I'm Amy Neuenfeld, the principal of Wadsworth. We are excited because our students are definitely growing from PM2 of 2024 to 2025, or 25-26. And our students with disabilities is going to be one of the main topics we want to talk about because we are in that 6th year of not meeting the 41%. Last year was 37, and our goal is to exceed that 41% this year. Some of our barriers that we've had this year, 21% of our students are new to Wadsworth. Even though our increase in enrollment hasn't changed drastically, 21% of our students are new to Wadsworth. And so that has created some challenges just in education. And so one of the things, this is a trend that Wadsworth has had over the years, is we see the most growth after January. So like we've had them for a few months, they've kind of gotten our routines, they're learning from our best educators, and so our growth time is from January on. So to already be seeing the progress that they're making, we're super excited. And of those new scholars, 13% came with needs of specialized instruction in some form or fashion. So with that, there's quite a high level of students who are already receiving, when they came in, specially designed instruction. Our GLOws for this one, we have increased in ELA 7% in our proficiency from PM2 to PM2 for ELA, and then for math, we've increased 11% for our students with disabilities. And they are outperforming our totals. So even though they're part of the totals, they're outperforming the totals, which is not only are they closing the gap, they are meeting their achievement goals. So those are some things to celebrate. Some of the ways that we're getting there is we've partnered with Finn, Fiddlers, and New Horizons, and we are being very strategic with the trainings that we're offering. So what one teacher needs may be different, what one program needs may be different. And so that has been something that I think when we look at ESE, we've done like trainings, but not targeted trainings. So they are actually also coming in and helping to support those teachers in the classroom. So you talk about feedback, they're getting that feedback from the professionals within there. But we've also partnered with our curriculum department. Every month, our core curriculum specialists come out and they do instructional walkthroughs. And they are very strategic. So they started with administration walking through, giving us feedback. Then it went to coaches, then it went to PLC leads. And when you get to see them, they walk with the instructional coach, so there's no administration, and they come back with actionable items. And now we're doing new teachers and teachers who just want to walk. So by the end of the year, every teacher will have been able to go on an instructional walk with a curriculum specialist. So they're looking through those lenses of curriculum. So that's been awesome. And then our next steps are we're going to continue those. We do data chats, both with teachers and with our students so that they take ownership. And those are the celebration moments. So we have created an academic incentive program. Each week there are classroom winners and then there are individual winners. They are so excited to get a ticket, to potentially win a prize, but it's allowing them to celebrate
their growth and their success. So when they come, like, I got 5 tickets, every Friday I get to draw names. It's just rewarding. And so having the ownership switch from, the teachers to the students has been powerful. So where we're not where we want to be yet, like, there's definitely steps in that mindset and where we're going.
I'm super impressed with the outsourcing of some of the resources and strategies to the agencies that you've talked about where you're bringing things in. What are you seeing in those outsource organizations that maybe we're not providing at scale here in Flagler?
I think it's that individualized approach. Like, we do have quite a few trainings that go on for support facilitators, for ESE teachers, but it's not always what that program needs today.
Should practice what we preach, right?
Yeah, all of our students are different when they come in. When you think about specialized instruction, it's specialized to the student. And I think that would be the difference, is they are in the rooms providing just those expertise that are above just a generic training or trainings that we've kind of done in the past. Is very highly focused on that teacher and those specific students that are in the classroom at the time.
That's fascinating. Now, I know you said that you do most of your growth from January on, but your science, right, was outpaced the district average, so that's pretty great. So what are the strategies that you did there that maybe can be applied to the lowest quartile ELA?
So when you think about like science, a lot of it, we have 2 brand new teachers up there, which is definitely helping our students. They are growing. We have 90-minute blocks for science, which helps as well.
And not for the rest of the subjects?
Well, no, they now have 90, 90, 90.
Okay.
So yes, so it is still with reading and it's still with math, but having a little bit more time.
So that was new, you're saying, for science?
Yes. So social studies is built into reading a little bit, and with our win time, they are able to do more science-focused activities for the students who are meeting their academic goals. So they have been doing all kinds of science projects. Heidi has come in with hands-on, minds-on, making it very educational. The things that she has brought in with daily reviews, spiral reviews, the problem-solving, the table a day, like all of those things have definitely helped the science and focusing on the scientific method, which is a big piece because they can't apply it to force and motion if they don't know it. So that's been, I would say a lot of it's Heidi and our 2 new teachers.
Awesome. Awesome. So you have the opposite issue. You're seeing some revitalization with some new teachers in that area.
Yes,
interesting. All right. You also have a similar issue to Rimfire in terms of your mobility rate. Do you feel we could do better communication to parents so that they understand the impact of moving their students around? Or are you seeing this mobility as something that can't be, helped? Like, is this a school choice situation? Or is it
from out of the county?
Most of them are out of the county, moving into the state, I would say. There's, I would say definitely out of the county and out of the state.
Okay, thank you for that.
And I just have a question, the Finn partnership, and so that seems to be working very well. Do we use that in all of our?
They are the state discretionary projects and all of our schools do use them, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, Carrie Presley, Bunnell Elementary. I was just going to briefly mention each one of our areas of focus. Area 1 is increasing ELA achievement. We do have an emphasis on phonics mastery in 2nd grade. A specific percentage increases we're looking for in 4th and 5th grade. Area focus 2 was to increase our 5th grade science proficiency. Last year it was 47%. The year before that it was 37%, so we were happy to have significant growth, but we really feel like 5th grade science is its own category and you can really make some big moves there, so we have set the goal at 60% proficiency for 5th grade science. Area Focus 3, similar to Ms. Neuenfeld, is to get out of that federal monitoring with our students with disabilities. We were so close last year. And then area focus number 4 is to increase the learning gains of our students, particularly those in the lowest quartile.
So there's many things that we're doing that kind of touch all these areas of focus. A lot of people have talked about PLCs already. I feel that that's something that we are really bought into at Bunnell Elementary. I do think that we are beyond the procedural kind of arena of that. The teacher collaboration that's happening in PLC, the trust and vulnerability of looking at standards mastery, looking at, teacher performance together as a team, talking about, wow, your students really mastered that standard. What strategy do you use to teach that? So we're really kind of to the point of talking about instructional strategies and sharing that as a team. So, and that's really across all content areas, impacting all these different things that I've mentioned already. We also have a significant emphasis on walkthroughs. I think I've said twice we have walkthroughs coming out of our ears, so no, that's the third time I've said that. But really for everything under the sun, and just having intentional time to look at specific things. So we do partner with teaching and learning to have that specific time to look at, what's happening in science instruction, what's happening in science instruction in our lower grades, so that once our students get to 5th grade, they're prepared to not just have spiral review of all those lower grade standards, but to really be able to hit those 5th grade standards as well. We have walkthroughs where we look at what's happening with our support facilitators and our Tier 3 interventionists. So we're walking those schedules, making sure that they're where the schedule says they're supposed to be, that they are participating in instruction. Optimally, we will go into a room with push and support facilitation, and we wouldn't know who the classroom teacher is versus who the support facilitator is necessarily, or maybe even a small group instructional para would be what we would hope to see, and what we are seeing. We do partner with Fiddlers and Finn as well. We've increased our professional learning for our teachers around specially designed instruction, around universal design for learning, so just making sure our folks are well trained to provide those supports. As we have such an emphasis on improving and having solid Tier 1 instruction, we want those classroom teachers to really be able to provide robust Tier 1 instruction, and those support folks to be able to bring those kids and scaffold those kids so that they can participate in that as well. We do use the district's instructional walkthrough tool, so we are seeing good results with our standards aligned instruction, our standards aligned activities. We're pretty proud of the results that we're seeing there. We also utilize instructional focus boards. That was something that was brought to us by the Bureau of School Improvement. So that helps us to remember to utilize the language of the standard in the instruction, so the students are familiar with the language of the standard, because they're also going to be assessed by that language. And also an important component of that is the check for understanding. So we want to make sure that check for understanding is aligned to the rigor of the standard, so that we have some kind of exit ticket or some kind of way to make sure that the students have learned what they were supposed to learn that day. I'm trying to think of what else I might want to share. We do have Focus Fridays. That's when our admin team and our coaches walk through and look at those instructional focus boards and how they're utilized as well. Data chats, again, I've heard folks talk about that. So as an admin team with our coaches, we do our data chats with our instructional personnel, but we also have folded in our student services team, our behavior interventionists, to look at our individual students, our students in the lowest quartile in particular, who we want to see learning gains, to talk about student behavior. So, and that doesn't necessarily mean disruptive behavior. Maybe there's a motivational issue going on, or some kind of support that we need to put in place with the student's family so that they can prioritize their child's education. So lots of things going on. Tutoring, 5 days a week, Saturdays, all kinds of stuff is happening.
Yeah. So. I see you also have a blip with the 2nd grade ELA from as rimfire. So I can't think off the top of my head. Is that across the board with the elementary's 2nd grade ELA?
2nd grade ELA is definitely an area that we are targeting.
So that is, something's happening there.
I think part of it is probably, there's such a big transition from 1st grade to 2nd grade, as you know, in what's expected of a reader. They're really having to do things independently. Again, we did assess early, not to make an excuse, but that kind of jump to a higher expectation and assessing a little bit sooner, I think does have some impact, because we have been pouring a lot into our primary grades as we are working to move from a school that's trying to intervene to proficiency is really our focus at this point. We've been trying to invest into those lower grades, so as they come up, now they're reading to learn, they're readers. And so I do see some external factors that may be impacting that second grade situation as well.
In terms of the assessment time, was PM1 and PM2 both early or just PM1?
Both.
Okay.
And we did that intentionally.
So it's the same amount of instructional time in between?
Across the organization.
Right, yeah.
It was and we did that intentional so that we can intervene sooner on deficits that are identified.
Because the old argument was they go away for winter break and they forget, so,
Yes.
you might as well see, well, what did they learn when it was hot off the press, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Presley.
Thank you.
Kings.
Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone. Jessica Fries, principal at Old Kings. I'm going to be talking briefly today about focus area number 2 regarding differentiated instruction. This year at Old Kings, our commitment is ensuring excellence for all students, and the work behind that is really grounded in the work that we do in our collaborative teams through the PLC framework. One of our school-wide goals this year is focused on differentiated instruction and increasing growth for all students. And we do have a large focus on our students with disabilities and reaching 54% proficiency for that subgroup of students. We created this goal with the understanding that this might be a 2-year lift for us. It is a pretty lofty goal. It's increasing by 6 percentage points from last year, and we do understand that, or we did understand that we may be in a position mid-year to have to say we're not making progress towards the desired outcome. But in order to support this goal, we implemented our OWL Focus Time, which was really a rebranding of our intervention and enrichment block. And we redesigned our master schedule so that that time is common across all grade levels, which really allows teams to intentionally target and plan for just right instruction for all of our students. And some grade levels have even opted to move towards a walk-to intervention model because that time is available for them to do that. So to support the planning and execution of this, we have a heavy emphasis on questions 3 and 4 during our time together in PLC. How will we respond if students don't learn the content, and what will we do to extend their learning when they do? Overall, when we look across the board, we are really encouraged to see that in most state reporting categories, we are either at or above where we were at the midpoint last year. We are not making progress, or we are not on track to meet our students with disability goal, but we do have great pockets of growth throughout.
So you're in a unique position amongst the elementary schools where you have the highest scores comparatively throughout the district. There is a gap, it looks for the math. But I guess my question then is focused more on, and really for all elementary schools, because middle school inherits this, high school inherits this, and I've said this numerous times, so I'm please don't take this as I'm picking on anybody. Sometimes the way I communicate seems to fluster people. But what I'm trying to communicate is that every school improvement plan, every one of these goals is always tied to lowest quartile students with disabilities. I understand that, and that is important because we get hit from the state, as well as it's our ethical and moral responsibility. But then where are we actually moving our on grade level students? Because every time that we don't push that level 3 student to the next level, or 4 to the next level, or 5 to the next level, they are regressing, right? They're going to have the same learning loss over the summer. A student who starts at third grade with high potential can end up going into high school at average or below average because we have not pushed them to their capacity and made them, go through that same level of rigor. And so I would love to see amongst all the schools, especially the elementary schools, where when they have the areas of the students who are performing, what are we doing to continue to help them build their cognitive capacity so that when they get to middle and high school and there's those very complex subjects, they're not hitting a brick wall. And to me, if we say that we know that all students can learn and we're here to help promote the growth and learning of all students, it's not being reflected in our school improvement plans.
So I'm glad that you brought that up. So in our OWL focus time, that has been a mindset shift for a lot of our staff, and that doesn't just apply to our lower performing students. There is truly something in it for everyone, and an opportunity for all students needs to be met throughout that time during the week. Additionally, on the January 6th PL day, we did spend a lot of time kind of breaking down our bottom quartile and showing our staff the scores that are represented in that group of students. We actually do have level 3s and level 4s in our bottom quartile. And so between the two goals that we have, the benchmark aligned instruction and the differentiated instruction, we are truly hitting all students.
Awesome, thank you for that clarity.
I will also add that although it's not in any of the specific areas of focus, we have had those conversations during our data chats with elementary principals, long conversations about that specific population and what we're doing to address their
So
needs.
we should model our expectation of that by perhaps requiring some of that visibility in the template of our school
And
improvement
we
plan.
definitely, that's an area we can definitely add. I think, again, we were in dire need to address some areas, and we have addressed those areas, and we are moving those areas forward. And so I think that you see as well as we see that we are at that point that we can shift our focus to be able to add those pieces to our school improvement plans as well. But there were definitely some other areas that we needed to put some immediate focus on, and we've done that, and now we're at a place that we can shift to add that and include that.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate the continuous improvement. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Ms. Freese. We'll go on to Buddy Taylor.
Good afternoon. My name is Katie Hansen. I'm the Proud Eagle Principal at Buddy Taylor Middle School. I'd like to just kind of go over each one of the goals briefly, and I apologize for tech. I'm going to start at the bottom because it is actually the goal that we are most proud of, and that is within the area of like our school culture and climate. Our goal was to reduce our office disciplinary referrals for our students with disabilities by 5%. When we compare our data currently to last year's data, we have decreased it by over 21% so far this year, which of course translates into more time spent in class for our students to be able to help reach the goals, the other goals that we have. Our other goal that we are really proud of right now within science, we have strategically adjusted what we call our Eagle Advisory Time. So for our students, we really used last year's reading and math data to drive the placement of those students in that Eagle Advisory Time. So we really looked at, do you need intervention, and does that look like intervention in reading, math, or both? Or are you in a place of needing enrichment? And then we targeted that enrichment to align with the state assessments. So our 8th grade students who need enrichment are sitting in a science-focused EA, so they're almost getting that double dose of science. We've seen, with the support of Ms. Alves helping us work with PENDA to create a diagnostic assessment, that at the midpoint in December, it reflected a 55% proficiency, and our goal was 54. So we're going to take another diagnostic in March. We anticipate that will continue to improve because a lot of that assessment was quarter 3, quarter 4 standards that they hadn't simply even been taught yet. We expect to see some similar growth, even though it's not one of our goals for civics, because our 7th graders are sitting in a civics-focused Eagle Advisory as well. And then our 6th graders are really hitting enrichment in reading and math. So they're able to do more project-based things, novel studies, those kinds of things, to be able to improve that as well. I'm also really proud of the administration team at Buddy Taylor. We have to date done over 500 classroom visits with actionable feedback. At the midpoint, we really pivoted based on the trends that we were seeing, because we actually give them a physical piece of paper with that actionable feedback, but we record it in a Google form too, so we can track those trends just overall and by the teacher. And based on the trends that we were seeing from our own walkthroughs, we were doing the district walkthroughs, which we've actually invited them to come once a month to continue that support from the district level. With that combined with the PM data that we were seeing, we noticed that there were still some gaps in some areas where we could improve. So we focused our professional learning in January on small group instruction, especially in our co-teach classrooms. Some additional classroom management, focused a little bit on PBIS, a little bit on CHAMPS, higher order thinking questions paired with student collaboration and discussion, as well as graphic organizers that lead to writing. So following that PL, we really revamped our classroom walkthrough tool. So it's very strategic and aligned to those goals, and we're starting to really see the dial move now, that we're giving really targeted feedback to our teachers. So we are seeing some pockets of growth, not quite where we want to be yet, but we're seeing in math, our 7th and 8th grade are definitely showing increased proficiency when we compare it to last year's PM2. And ELA, we're seeing a lot of improvement in 6th grade with our lowest quartile and our students with disabilities. So we're also at this point have taken 63% of our staff on learning walks, targeted again to small group instruction, those same focuses. And our goal is to make sure that that happens with 100% of our classroom instructional staff by the end of the year.
I'd like to just say I'm very excited with your new role, because I know you're implementing things that I know Indian Trails was doing and it was working. Like they had the Mustang Success, and now you have that wait, what's the title of the?
Eagle Advisory.
Eagle Advisory. So I'm very excited about that, and I just can't stop thinking about it, because I remember when I learned about the Mustang Success years ago, and I think that has a lot to do with the ending scores of everything, and then preparing them more for high school. And I'm excited to see where we'll be next year and then the year after with your new implementation of that program. So thank you.
Well, I mean, they did have Eagle Advisory before, but what I've seen is a very strategic revamping of it. So it's highly accountable and targeted, which I think is exact for all the students, not just those who need remediation, but those who need growth. So I too am looking forward to seeing some progress there. So yeah, it looks like the ELA is still a struggle area and declined. So when you see and you're having these, you have a very strategic process in which you're trying to push improvement. Are you seeing the fidelity of what you're asking the teachers to do in the classrooms translate?
More so now in this second semester. And I think with the Eagle Advisory, as with, all things change.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a little while to get get a little traction. So we're starting to see that much more so. We also have a new literacy coach, and I think her now being in the second half of this year in this new role, she's starting to feel a little bit more confident in her support. Yesterday was the first day of the 25-26 school year that we did not have a vacancy on my campus. And she was a language arts teacher that classroom of students has had a long-term sub all year long. They've been supported by ESE support and our literacy coach. But I do think that continues to be a problem. We've had a lot of shifts and vacancies throughout this year.
So just to ask on behalf of, parents, because I think when parents hear that you have a 21% decrease in the number of referrals, they're going to be, but are they enforcing the rules? So for example, it could be, well, maybe we're putting less emphasis on dress code, okay? Because is that in the end going to impact things? I know that you come from a long line of educators, and your mom was the dean at a school, so I think you probably have some interesting strategies. If you could just touch on that a little bit to maybe alleviate any concerns.
I think the biggest, let me first say, we are not, deleting referrals or wiping any of them or not focusing on things. I think it really has been making sure we have co-teachers in those supported classrooms where we often have classroom disruption. But we have placed a heavy focus this year on parent communication, that there needs to be a phone call when you are having those behavior issues, picking up that phone. Parents are our partners, and if we're not engaging with them to get the support, then those behaviors will continue and get worse. So that has really been a focus of ours on the academic side as well as on the behavior side.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks to the parents for helping enforce that.
Absolutely.
Then. Yeah.
Mr. Andrews. Thank you,
All right,
Ms. Hanson.
the caboose, right? Well, good afternoon, everybody. Ryan Andrews, Principal at Indian Trails. On the form that's on the screen, you really have two of our goals, but really any of our goals are to improve in all areas. Doesn't matter who the kid is or what the subject is. Even though we've had success in the past and historically high scores in a lot of different areas, there's always opportunities for growth, specifically with our students with disabilities. That is an area of focus for us, but we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. We definitely want to make sure that we're improving in all areas. We strive to motivate each of our individual scholars through our Mustang Success class, as well as providing enrichment and support and setting goals for those students. The students are part of the goal making, and they can understand where they stand with their progress monitoring and if they're on track to meet their goal at the end of the year, because every point counts. Right now, our data through PM2 is showing a very positive trend. All areas are improving from PM1, and then if you look at cohort data from PM2 last year, everyone is higher this year than they were last year, not only as a cohort, but also year over year. Right now, our math gains from PM1 to PM2 are a big celebration. They went up 21%, and notably, our 8th grade math cohort is 20% higher than they were in 7th grade last year. Right now, we're currently monitoring and helping students with semester 1 content recovery. We have had many new students coming from different areas where maybe their content requirements are different or they're at a different pace. So we're working through that, as well as making sure our students that were struggling are receiving supports through the remainder of the year. And we are putting a heavy emphasis on our professional learning communities with their understanding of data and what data means, so it can better align their instruction and planning with grade level benchmarks. And we're always working to build common and consistent strategies amongst our rooms, so that way there isn't that learning gap from grade to grade, but even practices from class to class. So our students are using the strategies over and over again in different areas. We've also partnered with other outside agencies like CARD and ISRD. They've come in to help support our highest need classrooms, and the support that they've been able to provide with, again, as was it Carrie down there who mentioned that, Amy? They really have had a significant amount of individualized time with a specific classroom, a teacher, and that group of students. So it becomes more of a targeted learning experience, and we're really excited to see what ends up happening at the end of the year through all of that.
Yeah, well, big kudos in making your desired progress for ELA math and science. That's amazing. Can you tell me, I think you mentioned in your report some weaknesses, including data literacy, which you touched on a little bit there, but also over-enrolled science and social studies classes?
So that's a trade-off that we make intentionally through our staffing. And in order to reduce the class sizes in ELA and math, the natural compounding effect would mean that social studies and science are a little bit heavier.
Okay. But you're not seeing maybe students' grades dropping in those areas? Like how can you still provide the individualized instruction with a larger class size like that?
It's very difficult. The teachers are great. They are the best that I've ever worked with. They are masters of their content, and they get blood from a stone.
All right. Well, thanks for that interesting strategy.
Any other questions? And I just want to say thank you to all of you. I appreciate your hard work. I really do. I know there's a lot of challenges, lots of people that move here into the county. To see the increases in middle school and just remembering, like, those were our COVID kindergartners, first graders. I mean, it's been an uphill climb, and, we've seen just the progress over the years, and it takes time. So I appreciate you all. And even with elementary, you know, my youngest, he'll tell me when there's a challenge, you know, oh, they changed this and that. And so I know you all are working hard. And
Yeah.
it's really
And
grateful to you.
that's a good note, Ms. Chung. Like, when we say, hey, we're looking for 70% proficiency, and somebody says, well, 5 years ago it was 70%. Well, those aren't the same students in that classroom in 7th grade, right? It's a new batch. We're not, you know, adding to an existing widget. We're always trying to ensure that those students get on grade level. So I think that that's an important distinction amongst educational data to be aware of.
I think
Good
it's
point.
also important to note that we have new benchmarks as of 2020.
Correct.
Right, when the pandemic hit, we got new benchmarks and new tests.
Yeah.
So we're being measured on different skills.
Yeah, and the nation suffered a huge drop post-COVID, in which I think we rallied back from
Absolutely.
much faster than the national average.
And I want to kind of mention too, so thank you all for everything that you're doing. But I think from parents, you know, and community members, you also have to realize a lot of our students have disabilities and they're not diagnosed with it yet. And so all of our educators in the classroom, they see it, but they're not medical professionals. They cannot say, I think you have a disability or your child does. So they have to, you know, go through that. So I think to be mindful, you know, mental health has been really a challenge for everyone, like adults, children, right? So then they're here in our schools, and you guys are doing the best you can, and you have to work with what you have. And so, you know, as we move on, we'll see how can we, you know, help them. But I mean, thank you, because I mean, the numbers too. If we had a test, if everyone had a test right now, and I said, okay, you have 5 minutes, do it. That's stressful. So think about our kids. They're doing that. So to get those scores, we're doing the best we can. And I know you guys are going to continue to try, and we're here to support you. And thank you for everything you're doing.
Yeah, I'd like to just also say, greatly appreciate every single one of you and what you do. You know, coming today here and being able to present your strengths and your weaknesses in front of the board is not always the easiest thing to do, but you all came prepared. You came with solutions on answers how you're going to continue to move that needle forward, even in areas that need growth. And I'm grateful for that, because that gives me encouragement as a board member, knowing that this team is dedicated and is on task. And I walk away today with even more confidence than I had before you walked in here. So thank you for all you're doing. And just know that your school board supports you, your effort, your team, and of course all of our students. And your superintendent, I know, does too. So.
And I'm glad that you said that, because really what they are doing, it's like a peek into their diary. It's pulling out the area that they're concerned about, right? We could sit before you and we could talk about all the highlights, and we could bring data to support all the highlights. But they're saying, here is an area that we're concerned about, and here are the things that we're doing to address that. But what I am very confident is that we have amazing leaders in our schools. They are doing great work for young people. We have amazing educators that work in our building and in our buildings and in our district that are doing great things for young people. And you know, I know that we're going to see the benefit of their labor as we continue to move through this year, and we're excited for all that is to come next. And so I too just say thank you to you guys for all of your work. We are very confident in you as leaders. I know that you get an opportunity to hear me say that to you, but really keep our kids first, and continue to do great things for young people, and it's going to make our community better. So thank you guys. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And we know that you would love to stay for the rest of this meeting, but we do understand if you leave before coming back tonight.
Yeah, we'll see you at 6.
Yeah, we'll see you in a few hours, right?
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. So.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Okay, great.
Mr. Reynolds and Dr. O'Brien.
All right. Good afternoon, Board, Chair Chong, Superintendent Moore. As you've experienced over the past several months, we've been coming to you with our strategic plan spotlights. Today we're going to focus on goals 1 and 2. And note that some of this information was just covered in the SIP reflection. So goal 1 is to ensure academic success for all students from early education to post-secondary preparation through consistent monitoring and systematic support. And our focus is on using research-based strategies and targeted instruction to improve student achievement. Why do we have this goal? Activities under it constitute the core purpose of our district to provide a high-quality educational experience for all students in our community.
The outcome goal areas for this is our goal our core academic achievement. For ELA, the goal is to go from 55% in 23-24 to 62% this year. In math, to go from 58% to 64%. Science to go from 61 to 65%. And social studies to go from 69 to 73%. You can see there that we have projected our achievement for ELA and math. We are projecting ELA to meet our goal at 62%, and we are projecting to exceed our goal in mathematics with a 67%. We don't make a formal projection for science and social studies because we don't have those progress monitoring assessments through the state, but through our internal assessments, we are on track to meet any goals that we have in the strategic plan.
That's good news.
The other goal area is kindergarten readiness. That goal in the strategic plan was to go from 53% in 23-24 to 55%. This is measured in August and September of a kindergartner school year, and so this year our rate is at 37%. Although this looks like a very drastic difference in numbers, and we did drop from last year. Just a reminder that after we set this goal, the state changed how the cut score for this measurement. So it is much more difficult to reach that 53 and 55%. So we did see a drop in kindergarten readiness from last year, but we have also implemented a lot of different supports through the Teaching and Learning Office targeting kindergarten readiness. So far this year, we've worked with our VPK program on a standards-based report card. We have worked and supported them through their VPK deficiency process and their MTSS process with our pre-K students. We have implemented the Foundations curriculum that we use in K-5, and we have now implemented that in VPK. We've worked with them on a professional learning plan for their staff and their teachers. We've done lots of different walks with VPK, which started this year, both with Foundations and with mathematic walkthroughs. And we used the CLSD grant funding to train their literacy paras in VPK. In the future, what we are, some of the things that we are looking at doing in the future, we are continuing to work with our Early Learning Coalition on the Thrive by 5 program. We are exploring a new supplemental curriculum called Age of Learning that other districts have seen great success with in VPK, and so we are looking at implementing that starting this summer and getting into the school year as well. And then we are also adding a early learning coach position for our VPK programs.
If I can just add to that, these are the things that we can do for the VPK programs that we facilitate. If you look at our data of our students that go to our VPK program versus if we would just take our programs out, our student performance is higher than this, sitting about 50%. But what I will stand by and say is that kindergarten readiness is not a school district issue, right? Kindergarten readiness is a community effort that we have to work on, right? This assessment is an assessment that is given to the students within the first 2 weeks. I was going to say 30 days,
For
so
us,
less than
2
that.
weeks.
So for the first 2 weeks of school, assessing their readiness for kindergarten. And we know that there is a direct correlation between students' kindergarten readiness and our grade 3 performance. I did have Mr. Reynolds pull some information that I'll just share verbally. The top 5 school districts as far as school district grades, their kindergarten readiness: Nassau County 38%, St. John, this is in order of the ranking for the state, top 5. Nassau sits at 38%, St. John sits at 58%. They are the highest in the state for kindergarten readiness. Number 3 is Walton County, they sit at 47%. Lafayette, number 4, they sit at 38%, and number 5 is Indian River, which sits at 45%. Those are the top 5 districts within the state. The top 5 kindergarten readiness across the state is St. John's at 58, Sarasota 55, Pinellas 53, Brevard 52, and Martin County 52. And so kindergarten readiness is something that we as a community have to come around in order to be able to address what this is, especially if we want to see higher performance within our schools when it comes to our traditional assessments. I'm sorry, Ms. Ruddy, to have
No,
interrupted
you answered
and
my
just
question. My question was, are these just our students going through VPK or all students coming into kindergarten? So I wanted to make sure I made that clear. And, you know, even if you choose not to put your child in VPK, there's a plethora of material out there. Even Dollar General sells, you know, letter recognition books. So please, I'm sure we could post some information about
we do have
kindergarten.
it on our website.
Do we?
If you go
Okay.
to our website
Thank
and
you.
put in kindergarten readiness,
the whole packet.
yes, it will show you the skills that they need to know in order to be ready for kindergarten. To your point,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Ruddy, for students who do not participate in VPK, those students are about 31% is their readiness for those students that come in. That do not attend a Flagler VPK, they sit at only about 31%.
Do we have an idea of their readiness if they attend a VPK but not a Flagler VPK?
I currently don't have the list of students who are getting private provided.
Yes, because the state changed the way they report it. We probably could get loose, like close to what it is, but we would not be accurate to be able to we would not be accurate to be able to say this is what it is, but we could get close to what that number is, and we can send that to you.
I was just curious because, you know, if we see that across the board it's high, and is the question then, are there other socioeconomic factors at play that those who do not attend VPK are dealing with? You know, all sorts of things.
Well, did you say, what did you say for students that actually attend our VPK coming in their readiness? Do we have a measure on that itself?
47%.
Okay, so we're at 47 there.
And when we look at, yes, so I'm going to just, if I may, just kind of address some of the different. So if you go to our website and you type in kindergarten readiness, it will pull up for you information. It'll also pull up for you resources that families can do at home in order to assist. The biggest thing is really helping students to be rich in their language, learning to take turns, rhyming, nursery rhymes, those things, letter correlation, one-to-one correlation, those things are so important. I think many people believe that you have to come in reading in order to be ready for kindergarten, and that's absolutely not true. You don't have to teach your child how to read at home for them to come in to be ready for for kindergarten. That is something that we do in kindergarten, and there is a science to how we teach students to read. There's lots of research about that, but I definitely recommend to our community to go on, look at the resources. We also connect to the early Learning Coalition of Flagler and Volusia to their page and to their resources, because this is really a work that they are championing in our community as well.
Now, I just want to point something out too on that 47%, because back in '22, when I first came on the board, that was one of the bigger complaints, as we had long waiting lists to get on VPK. And we've expanded that now to additional 4 VPK classes, giving more access. And we're seeing more benefits now in the numbers here, when you can see where people that have come to our VPK going in with the readiness. And haven't we seen some ELA gains in the kindergarten from that? Is that where we're measuring that?
So what we
Readiness?
know is that the correlation is, it's loosely correlated to third grade reading. So we want to make sure that we're seeing, higher kindergarten readiness scores. We have to do a lot of lift to get them caught up.
Because the goal is to get them to that third grade level. So, and I just, for parents that had to face that, do I hold my kid back for another year because they haven't reached that, we want to make sure the parents don't have to try and make that decision. So, very good to hear.
And I also encourage Reading Pals. So if you're a community member that is retired, you have extra time on your hands, and I would love to see more Reading Pal volunteers, or, I'm glad to hear that we're trying to get other programs more involved, but you as a Reading Pal, you can come in, you can read to these classes, but just reading, I love that our library has so many reading opportunities. So I think parents, guardians, if you can bring your child more, even if it's once a week, but that extra 20 minutes will make a difference. So become a Reading Pal and help the schools out. It is a community effort, and just, we can't give up, but just reading, and just reading to them. They don't have to read right away, but read to them and it will help.
Because what we've seen in kindergarten this year, that we've seen an increase of students that are coming into kindergarten that are nonverbal. We're seeing, so they lack language. We are seeing an increase of students who are coming in to kindergarten that are not potty trained, who have not been in structured environments, and so they are struggling with some of the transition into kindergarten, and those behaviors are being demonstrated within our classroom. And so when we think about the importance of students being in a rich language environment and how critical that is to that success, and this is not just one school. Each of our schools in kindergarten are seeing an increase of non-verbal students. And I'm not talking about developmentally delayed. I am talking about students who have a significant language delay that is causing them not to have language to be able to communicate their wants and their needs.
Or even to be able to follow simple instructions.
Absolutely.
And there's a long-standing study about the number of words a child is exposed to between the ages of newborn to age 5. And, people always say, well, money doesn't buy knowledge, so how is it higher socioeconomic people tend to have students more kindergarten ready? It's because they tend to talk to their children more. So even just the act of talking to your child and involving them in conversation, even when they can't yet respond, is valuable.
It's absolutely. And reading to them, letting them hear different types of language through stories, through people talking to them. I love that you mentioned when they are not yet able to respond, not using baby talk. With them, using full language to explain things to them and helping them understand and reason things that maybe they yet can't, completely grasp into their words is critical.
It all matters.
It all definitely matters when it comes to their then future success.
Do we know if they still offer the Dolly Parton books in Flagler County?
Yep, they do still do that. We also, through the state of Florida, have New Worlds reading, where our students can receive free
Every month.
book
Yep.
every
And
month.
it's free.
Yes,
And
and
you
I
can
will
have
tell
10
you,
kids and you get
we
two.
go, we have them at different events, because this is an elementary, so we have a station at different events. And we still have families that do not take advantage of that opportunity, and they just gotta sign up, and but their books will come each and every month. And so we need families just taking advantage of the opportunities that we provide, because we are providing a lot of opportunities. We just have to have them taking advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, I know that's not necessarily on us, but I wonder if there's a way to get that out there. I mean, when they're 2, 3 years old, they can get books and they start picking up vocabulary, you know.
Yeah, they have it in, like the Parent Square, or, so like they do market it. I think just there's so much information. Parents, they just have to click on it and register. But Miss Kristen Frank, she always has free books at every event these events are free for the schools. So, if you're not able to register for the free books, just attend any of the events, and just grab a bucket. She'll give you as many as you want.
This board is bold to be able to put that on as a goal, knowing it is not something that is that you fully can impact. But one of the things that I recommend is that we even bring in DJ Lebo, who is with the Early Learning Coalition of Flagler and Volusia, so that she can use an opportunity here before this board to share about the efforts of the Early Learning Coalition. That may be something that will be beneficial to the community. And she'll also, of course, be able to share about the way they support the work we're doing through the Flagler Schools VPK programs, but she would be able to share the work that is being done across the community in that area. And so if the board would like, I definitely can reach out to her. I'm sure she would be more than happy to come in and share.
And just another thought, just as you said, it's a community effort. Maybe putting together a campaign for our other constitutional officers and county leadership and city leadership to have an initiative that we drive as a community this information through all of our channels, maybe at one time, at a year, multiple times, but have a big ceremonial push for this data. I just think back of the tax collector, they got tons of bicycle helmets. They were at every event giving away bicycle helmets. Well, why not see if we can have our partners going out and educating early learning, kindergarten readiness to our community also.
Right.
So
or like the health department, the pediatricians, they come in, because we're trying to hit kids who haven't necessarily hit us yet, have a basket of books. Here, get one. Here's how you sign up to get one free a month, right?
Yep.
Yeah, great idea.
We definitely will.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to Goal 2, educational equity. This goal is to ensure every student's success and promote equitable outcomes by addressing unique educational, social, and emotional needs through a multi-tiered system of support and strategic resource allocation. And this goal is aligned with our guiding principles. It focuses on meeting individual needs of each student to ensure an academic culture of the highest caliber.
And there's two main goal areas for this. One is the academic performance for students in our high priority subgroups, which were African American students and students with disabilities. The first metric was to increase the number of schools that have a federal index greater than 41% for students with disabilities. We were at 1 school in the school year 22-23. Our goal was to get to 6 schools in 24-25 because this is a lagging data point, and we ended last year at 4 schools. The second metric, it was for African American students. We had 6 schools above that 41% in 22-23. Our goal was to get to 9 schools in 24-25, and we exceeded that with all of our schools getting above that threshold in 24-25. The other main goal area metric in this goal is to address the college and career acceleration component. We were at 48% in 23-24. Our goal was to get to 54% by the end of this year. And although we haven't gotten official numbers from the state, we do have all of the data for last year's graduating seniors, and we're estimating to exceed that at 58%. If you remember with that, last year we dropped down to 47%, so that's actually an increase of 11% in 1 year.
Excellent.
Because when we started working on this, because this is lagging data, when we started to work on this, we were already behind, knowing that we were not going to see the impacts of our work. And so until this coming year, and so now we'll begin to see this continue to improve. This year, we already know that we will be even significantly higher in this area going into next year, again, because it's lagging data and we're already calculating what this is. So we're going to be in a really good place for all of these different areas as we continue to work through this year.
I have a couple of questions on, you know, the strategic goals and how we're executing them. So when we say instructional reviews, like, is there a specific quantity or cadence? What, like, artifacts are supposed to be produced by them, or action items as a result?
Okay, so we continue to review and revise that process. This year's model looks like 3 instructional reviews at every school. We did one in September, one in October, November, and we're in the middle of the 3rd round now. We do have a time period identified in April in case we need to do a 4th round at some schools as we deem necessary. And in those instructional reviews, we have all of teaching and learning, student services, and the ESE department is involved. Ms. Moore, Dr. O'Brien attend them as well. We also invite our Bureau of School Improvement to our CSI schools, and we walk as many classrooms as we can. We tell the schools, any teacher who's providing instruction during this time, we want to see their instruction, and we look at lesson benchmark aligned lessons and benchmark aligned student tasks, and we measure that, and then we come together and we talk about glows and grows and then action steps in between the two, or in between the instructional reviews.
So what would happen if when you do a walkthrough, you're seeing evidence of instructional strategies that are missing? You said obviously that's a grow, but for example, is there information that's shared with the principals so that when they do their particular walkthroughs, they can reinforce that? Is there, if you spot the same teacher multiple times, are you diagnosing some professional development or peer-to-peer mentorship work?
Yes, all of the above and more. We do have school support plans for each school that we develop at the beginning of the year based on their school-wide improvement plan. And at each instructional review, we look at those support plans, and we look at, we make suggestions as a teaching and learning and academic department on things that could be added to their support plan or changed. And then the schools also have an opportunity to ask for more support in certain areas.
Great. When you are looking at this data, are you seeing trends that you think need to be addressed by the board? Are there carving more professional development time, professional development resources, anything that can support the growth of the feedback and the implementation of that feedback?
Sure, if we ask Ms. Ferrer with professional learning, she would love as many more days of professional learning. I can't think of anything.
I think the cycle that we're in, the improvement cycle that we're doing, so we have the instructional review, we have data chats, and during that we're really action planning. And what it allowed for this year, moving our PM2 window earlier, allowed us to have that data chat, identify some root cause of some issues, and then that targeted all of the PL day on January 6th. So it's really been able to inform our professional learning in a more meaningful way that we have found for sure.
Are you seeing any weaknesses in our curriculum resources?
One of the things that we spotted early on through our instructional reviews was use. We have seen a drastic shift in that. And so by having just the volume of walks, we could see in classrooms or grade levels when they were planning together but maybe not using the best resources. Okay. So that has been I would say, a big shift for us.
And I think we've seen that in the data too. We talked about algebra earlier. If you look at algebra and geometry between the two high schools, FPC tends to do better in the last few years with algebra, and Matanzas tends to do better in the geometry area. And if you look at their implementation of the approved resources, FPC's algebra teachers use the adopted materials more than their geometry team, and at Matanzas, their geometry team
Vice
uses the
versa.
materials more than their algebra team.
Let's see.
When we go on the walks together as a collective, we are looking for trends for support. So what do we need to do from teaching and learning? What services, to the point of your questions here, what do we need to do in order to address this? And so that's really the lens that we look at it from, and we identify targeted supports and next steps that we're going to do to address it. In those walks, there are times that we may identify something that needs to be addressed in a different way outside of that global support for a grade level, and schools do have follow-up conversations and put in individual support to an individual teacher. But when we're really going from the lens of support. What is it that all of us that are in a position to support teachers, what do we need to do in order to ensure that they can go in and do what they do well and what they are professionals at doing. And so we've seen that change and improve. When we first started year one, we were not doing that with all of our schools. We really targeted our schools that were a grade of a C. We saw those improve out of that category. We spread across to all of our schools because we had those subgroups that we're identifying here that we needed to address. We saw improvements in each of those subgroups. We saw that students, our African American students, came out of monitoring completely, and we saw that we had an improvement in students with disabilities. In some schools, double-digit growth in those areas, and so we continue to focus and look at the supports, which is why you heard that come up. But then we're looking at the data, we're having conversations around that. The April walk is there as really a catch, because when we go and we take, when we look at our assessments going into this last stretch and how our students are performing, if we need to come in and provide some additional support, we'll come in and do that as well for those schools that are needed, versus when we do the first three, we do it at every school. And we also, I just want to add for a point that we also provide this year, we've extended that support to Imagine at Town Center as well. Also got them connected with a BSI and really helping them to model some of the things that we're doing within our traditional public schools.
And I will say I had a conversation with BSI this week, and they mentioned that with their data and their walkthroughs that they're doing at Imagine, they are projecting them to be at a B, if not an A.
Okay, good.
And I just want to highlight Bunnell Elementary School and the growth that they're having. And maybe we'll figure out a way to get board members to come and be a part of some of the walks. But we were at Bunnell Elementary School. Was that last week or was that yesterday? Last week. We were there last week. And they are sitting at we walked through 50 classes, and they're sitting at 90+% instruction and task alignment across the school, across grade levels. So some great things happening there, and we're looking, and the teachers already know what we're looking for because it's that one tool that we're using, and so we're doing that. Buddy Taylor Middle School is a school that we're providing a lot of support to, and they've done over 500 classroom walks. And so you got to be in there, see what's happening, so we know how we can support.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you very much.
All right, we're moving on to 8.01 Engagement Center renaming with Mr. Freeman.
Good afternoon, Board,
Hello.
Chair, Superintendent. Month ago or so, you had asked staff to bring forward the commemoration of how we commemorate a school facility. And so that is the purpose of this briefing today. We have a policy, Board Policy 7250, which outlines this process. And I've prepared a slide which gives you some of the highlights here. The school board basically can commemorate those facilities through either naming rights or with a plaque that's reserved for individuals or organizations who have significantly enhanced education in the district or the nation, the state, community. The process is that the superintendent would be submitting the proposed name, and then the board would be the approval of that name. And as you see, it's based on 2 different categories, either by location or the individual. Once it's adopted, it's considered permanent, and then if we wanted to change it after that, there's a process for that where we have to wait about 18 months. We would have committees at that time.
Yeah, and so this is in response to the suggestion and request that we entertain naming the Engagement Center after Dr. Jim Gines, who, as you know, was an education advocate, served on the school board for a number of years, had started the AMP program also before computers were in classrooms, initiated the Make It and Take It program. I'm sure a zillion other things that, I'm not rattling off the top of my head. And so I would like for us to consider and begin the process of potentially naming this facility after him.
So, great suggestion, and I think there's no doubt that he meets all the benchmarks here to be considered. I also have been working with some community members about having some sort of an award or commemoration annually at our school board meetings with a similar recognition. And I just asked Superintendent to explore possibilities for us all to consider. My only concern about naming this building after anybody is the fact that we don't own the building. We lease it from the county. And so if this was designated, it would only last as long as the engagement center exists, because that's what it would actually be attached to our lease. And going forward, whether we would purchase that building in the future, that is really going to be up to this board or a future board. There's no real legacy that could stay with that designation. That's my concern about the building itself. I'm 100% on board with something that can last a very long time. That's usually the reason why we do this. We want it to go on for many, many years in remembrance and recognition. So those are my thoughts on that. And I would suggest that we lean on the other for now in lieu of a naming of a building we don't own.
When you say the other, can you elaborate on that? Because
So I had some community members came to me and asked me about this, and so I went to Superintendent Moore and asked her to explore some opportunities that we could do that with that to bring to the board. And it just, because we've got this forum now on this agenda item, I'll ask Superintendent Moore what she's come up with.
So we are working with AMP to come up with a yearly recognition that we would do for a student under the name of Dr. Jim Gines. The AMP is also working on some other pieces, and I don't want to speak to some of the specifics of what they are planning, because I know that they're in some of the beginning stages of it. But every year we recognize AMP during as we lead into Black History Month, and partnering it with the proclamation would be a recognition of a student in the honor, in the name of Dr. Jim Gines. And we would do that with a student that is in one of our mentoring programs. And then we have a list of different characteristics of students that we would be looking at, and then a process for identifying who that student is that will be
I thought
recognized.
there was already some sort of scholarship or something.
There is a scholarship as well.
But it's just under the general AMP.
Well,
So
the
this
scho-
would just be essentially taking the same program and attaching his name to it?
So the scholarship, the difference, I guess, would be that with that scholarship, it is much later, and we can definitely, I can get with them to see if that's what they want to consider is like bringing both, is the scholarships aren't awarded until later in the year for those students, and so we would either have to adjust one or the other.
Oh, you mean
The
it
other
doesn't line up with February?
Yes,
is what
and the
you're saying.
other people, the other point is that we have scholarships in the names of lots of other people, and so we did not want to necessarily get connected in that way, so that we would then be, really not focusing on him, but really focusing on our scholarships, and that's something that we already do in the month of May through the Ed Foundation.
Mr. Freeman, what is the length of our current lease on the engagement center?
We originally had a 2-year lease.
Mhm.
That was in '24, so our lease would be coming up in, I believe, September of this year.
Okay, so does it, when that lease comes up, is there an immediate situation where we could absorb the spaces that we're using there into our other schools, or are we looking potentially on extending that lease, if not purchasing that space?
I would think that'd be up to the board on what you would want to do. We would have the option either to extend the lease, and I think there is an option on to either, if we wanted to purchase it at that time as well.
And our recommendation would be to extend the lease, to your point, not being able to absorb all of those things just into our schools. So our recommendation would be to extend the lease, and then it will be up to the board to consider if you want to purchase the building or not. Purchase did come up, we had some reservations with that initially, but I don't know what what you guys will consider at that time.
It is a valid concern if we do continue to have enrollment drops, where I could see, if the trajectory of our enrollment drops continue within the next 5 years, that we do absorb that space and not purchase it, in which case, yes, it is a temporary naming location, as opposed to the other schools where it would take a lot larger enrollment decline to take that out of our inventory, as it were.
And with our current projection for FTC, our FTE projection, I don't see, unless something happens drastic and we have a drastic decline, which some districts are experiencing, that we do not anticipate that with the data, and that's not how the state is projecting us to go. I do not anticipate us not needing that building over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. We will still need that facility. Based on, if we're just looking strictly at our current FTE.
And I know some may ask, well, what about the other schools that are location name based? One of my concerns is the cost that it would take to roll back all the current branding that's on all of the this one's relatively new, and just has right now the smaller sign. Everything else is a little bit more of a mixed branding within it. So I thought it would be a lower cost, way to commemorate him, as opposed to renaming one of the existing schools that were
And we
named
did
based
have
on
that
location.
conversation with senior cabinet around it being a building that we do not own. Again, the language does not prohibit you from doing it, but it would only be as long as your current lease.
Right. And probably, it wasn't probably, thought that we would have leased properties. So I'm sure that the spirit there is that we own the property.
And I would definitely, and I'm not saying which way, if you guys want us to move in the direction of this one, we will support it and make it happen. If not, but I do think regardless of what, the board really being able to collaborate on how we honor our students too, that resemble his character and characteristics will be something that we can and or do. But not necessarily, I think that connecting it to how we recognize our students will also be a great opportunity as well.
Yeah. I would be willing to table this until we have further discussion on the space in terms of leasing it and or evaluating at that time, are we looking to purchase that space?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so with...
On the naming of the building anyways.
Right.
We could still move forward with a recognition
Right.
that we were talking about during a spotlight.
Okay.
Every February.
And I like involving students too, and so, but it was a great idea.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we will bring this back. You'll table it, so you'll bring it back, Ms. Ruddy. If it's something that we want to still consider, we'll bring it back when we look at the lease space. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Thank you very much.
10.01, we'll move on to Student School Board Policy 141, with Spence Smith.
So as you know, we've had student school board members here in Flagler County. However, we did not have any language that really outlined the role and any language to ensure that it was something that continued for years to come. And so this is our steps towards doing that.
I believe we vote on this tonight, right?
I think it was pulled from I know ECG is. If this one is, I do apologize. It should only be ECG for tonight.
Yeah.
And I will pull that accordingly.
Because I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I'll definitely will pull that accordingly. I do apologize. ECG, we do, because we're recommending that you mirror language from state statute. And I do apologize for that error. That is definitely on me.
So under the section 4, letter B, roles and responsibilities, B, encouraged to sit at the school board table during regular open meetings and participate in discussions in the same manner as the public. I'm hoping to kind of maybe clarify, discuss that a little bit more. So that sounds like number 1, if I as a school board member wanted to capture some insight from one of the students that would not be in line with this particular policy, I would, they would have to have submitted their name in order to speak either on an agenda item or at the end under the regular 3-minute rule and not at the dais, correct?
So that was the original intention of the policy. And then there was a Scrivener's error that needed to be made after we had changed the intent to be more of a public discussion that referenced the chair. But that language should no longer be submitted to you. And so that's why we're workshopping it. So the policy was originally created because board member Ramirez had mentioned that that she would like to see a policy brought before you for discussion. And so there was some, I think there's a couple opportunities there for the board to have discussion as to the way they see best fit.
Yeah.
I think also it would make sense to request council's opinion on that as well, given their experience with with various boards in the history with regard to policy members, because there are a couple different issues that arise as a result of a policy like this. So,
Because from our recommendation, as a district staff, is we did not want to put our students in a position where they were speaking on topics that the board is discussing that would cause the public to potentially target our students and their opinion. We want to make sure that they're representing really the student body and having an opportunity to engage around those things. So our recommendation is that of which the public, so giving them an opportunity to express their comments, their concerns, as the public will be allowed to, but when the board is in the active discussion, we did not make a recommendation that they be called on at that time.
It's hard to imagine this becoming an issue, but we don't know what could happen in the future, where it could draw negative attention to a minor or cause conflict within the board.
Yeah, I personally do not like the idea of having student school board members participate in the policy discussions, primarily for some of the things that were already mentioned. But secondly, we are all duly elected people that represent the community, and we are here to put policy together. And the students are part of that constituency base through their parents. So we do have direct collaboration there, and also our involvement in the schools. I think right now the way that it's operating is how it should be. That they're more of a liaison between the school district, their school and the school board, bringing awareness to the school board of things that are happening at the school level, and in turn reporting back that what has happened at the school board itself. It can be very problematic if we have, because they don't necessarily represent all the students at their school. Although they are a representative, or as a student school board membership, it's not that's not how our system of government works here. They are they're teenagers. So bringing in that perspective at a board meeting when we're discussing policy between, I believe, can be problematic not only to the process but also to the student itself. So I am not an advocate for that, and I think that we got to be very careful how we put the language in here going forward.
They can definitely bring things to us, right? I mean, there's
And they can speak, they're a member of the public, so they can speak, but to Ms. Ruddy's point, it would be before the discussion, if this language goes, it will be before the discussion is had, as would be the same that is allowed for the public. It would not be during the actual discussion. Again, this is just the language we're recommending. It is to this board to really decide on the direction you want to go. And we've gone back and forth with where that should be. Should it be the chair giving them an opportunity to speak? Could it be any school board member that gives them an opportunity to speak through the chair? We've gone back and forth, and we can, I can definitely see all parts of it, but our collective recommendation was for it to be allowed as that which is allowed to the public.
I think what we're missing here, though, is we have, as part of our cadence and our agenda, are the school updates from those liaison representatives and how they use that time, unless we are to please to provide oversight into what they're going to say. Right now, and more traditionally, it's been almost like here's some event updates, right? Or here are some recognition items. Now, personally speaking, I'm conflicted because my daughter was a student representative liaison, and she was sat during a contentious time during COVID. And she used some of her time to actually speak about a particular item that was on the agenda to be voted on that evening. She did not speak during the discussion of the event, but used her time within the liaison updates to share what was essentially advocated and communicated through her and the perspective of the students on that particular item. And so that's where I'm questioning. If we're going to say that they can speak, but in the same manner of the public, then that would need to be including their liaison updates, and or we need to essentially better define what the liaison updates are if the spirit is to remove them from having or sharing opinions on items to vote on that evening. However, that's where my conflict is. They are, a liaison, a voice of, an updater, provide some insight potentially that is another piece of fact or information that could inform the board, but in the essence, they don't have a say because they don't vote. It's the board that votes.
So I will say there was no intention here to remove their closing comments, and we do not, I'm going to use your term, but it's because I'm failing to, we do not oversee, police. Whatever they say during their closing comments are theirs. They do meet with their school leadership and to ensure that they can, they have the information about all the things that are happening, but even that is really their own closing comments and reflection of their representation of the school body. So this in no means are we trying to remove that. We're talking about for the comment around the public, that is for agenda items. And we can definitely improve.
But that's what I'm saying, that there leaves space for interpretation and or questioning if we're providing them space to have liaison updates, but then we're saying, well, no, they shouldn't speak. And I think that's what we're having a conversation on as well, right? There's really two aspects here. Can a student liaison be recognized by the chair or be called upon by a school board member to share their perspective when asked? And part B, during their liaison updates, do we specifically state that they are not to express opinions or feelings about upcoming items to be voted on? And that's what I think is, because that's what I'm understanding is the concern of Mr. Furry, and then in that case, you're restricting their speech.
So I would add, may I, Chair? Okay. I would add that their speech is not restricted in the sense that it says here that to be able to participate like the public. Well, the public participates through public comment. So there's nothing that prevents a board member to step down from the dais and sign up for public comment and make their public comment heard at one of our board meetings. Where there could be problems in the future, because remember, we are setting up policy not just for today, but for future boards. And so when you leave the option to allow the student school board member up to one person, you now have made it so that if that view may be in alignment with the chair or opposition or opposed to that, they could either approve or deny their ability to participate. So therefore, I think you have to think through these things. We hope that would not come into play, but it is clearly a possibility. And we're, as I mentioned earlier, the public comment section at both the beginning and the end are places where they can express themselves like the public. And the other issue I have here is that we open them up to potential sunshine violations. I don't want to put our students, they should not be put in that position to be put into sunshine violation possibilities. And they are not participating in the workshopping of our policies, right? And so we all share the data that we all build our policies off of in our workshops. We have our discussion. They may come with data or support for their argument that has not been necessarily shared with the rest of us to have any context or validity of what supports their argument. So these are some things why I think it's problematic that to set it up in the way that some of this language would allow. So I'll yield my time.
You mentioned calling on a student for their input, but that's something that could be weaponized, against each other.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So can I, yeah, thank you. All right. So the only reason why I brought this up whenever, 2 months ago or so, because we didn't have a policy on it. We learn in training, if it's not in policy, it can't happen, or it happens or not. So that was the intention. And then secondly, reaching out with speaking with other districts and learning about what they do. We try to feed off of each other, what works and what doesn't. A lot of them do have student school board members. However, they have different ways that they run it. They have 25 high schools, we have 2 or whatever it may be, so they rotate, we don't. So, and then I know several years ago there was a board meeting and school board members had the opportunity to speak in discussion. So it's just having consistency in a policy. So I'm really glad that we're going to figure this out, because I think having a policy is the most important thing. And then obviously we figure out what's best for the student, the district, and then the board, and then thinking in the future, whatever we put in policy, this is for future boards to kind of go through. So I brought it up, and then I think just a couple points, and just see what you guys are thinking. But one, I agree with you, Mr. Furry. I don't believe the chair should have the right to say, okay, you should be able to speak or you should not, just because of the viewpoint. So I think with a student school board member, they should perform as if they were a board member, essentially, but not voting. Obviously, there's no debate happening, because it's not a debate, it's a business meeting. So that's why I brought it up. Other districts do that, and that was my intention of seeing, what would work with the students. They're the ones that are bringing in the information, and I do understand what you're saying. They're only at this high school, so Matanzas at Matanzas, FPC at FPC, but they're still part of the community. People go and talk to them, and how are things going, just they're supposed to bring back things from their schools. So I thought having that discussion, so if we were talking about something up for vote, and then just as Chair Chong would say, oh, any discussion, so if I did, I would speak, okay, thank you, you have the floor, or whatever it may be. And then if the student were to want to have student discussion, they could have an input as well. So that's where I was coming from, because other districts do the same thing. And again, obviously we have legal counsel, 2 different types, so it's good to hear the pros, the risks, and things like that. So that's what I was coming up.
It's definitely,
just
because
to
I never would have thought that we had kind of this difference, and I didn't realize it was interpreted in different ways.
I just have a
like
few
I
more
said,
things,
my
Ms. Ruddy, sorry.
my previous experience with it.
I just
so.
want to. Yeah. I just want to go through a few more things. So the sunshine law, though, I understand initially maybe the concern, but from what I've gathered, they're only advisory only, so I don't believe that they could do anything with sunshine, because sunshine would be if that student was in with 2 board members at the same time. So I was just trying to think, number one, policy, we definitely need one. So regardless.
I'd like to have Mr. Delaney chime in, just because you brought up legal things.
Yeah, and we have 2 legal representatives.
When we say we think it's not illegal, that's when we get into trouble. So I want to bring in
Well, I think
legal minds into this.
I have a couple of other points that I would like to make sure that I add to, so that he can provide insight on it as well.
I'd like clarification on this point right now.
Let Ms. Ramirez just finish her thought.
Yeah, so, and that's why I've met with both legal teams, and I've been asking questions because I'm not an attorney, so that's why we're here today. So I have my notes. So obviously, our legal team can let us know, from my understanding from being a board member, I do not believe that the Sunshine Law would be a concern for the students, but we have legal representation who can cover that for us, so we'll let them do that in a moment. The main thing is the policy, so I think it's really important that we have a policy. I really believe that the student should have a voice as a student school board member. A lot of other districts do that. If we're allowing them to go and do public comment, so they could go and do public comment for 3 minutes and say whatever they want, they could actually say worse as a public comment student than on the dais, because on the dais you have to have a decorum, you have to represent. So I don't know, I sent some verbiage for the attorneys to review, and I'd like their feedback on it, and then like their legal feedback, and then we can kind of decide from there. But policy obviously is the most important thing, to have a policy for our students.
I agree, and in here it says that students should not speak to 2 or more school board members regarding, and it's already establishing that they're under the Sunshine Law, which I wonder is even enforceable, because they're under, very often, the age of 18. But in terms of a previous counter, that if we have the board chair recognize them to vote, there could be some collusion. Well, how would they know what they were going to say if it wasn't coached? And a way to get around that then is to say, instead of leaving it up to the board chair to recognize, it could be voted on, like with a motion. I would like to move to allow the student school board representative to speak, and then we could vote on it, and then it would receive a majority of vote that would allow them to speak. If we're concerned about collusion, or do we allow them to have a space before all agenda items regardless of the topic, and that way it doesn't look like there's that impropriety. But finally, one of the legal questions I would have is, I think then they should be up to the same standard as us, not that they're communicating between 2 or more school board members, but just like us, we cannot communicate with each other. They should not be able to communicate with us individually if we're going to say.
But they can.
They can. They're not elected.
They're not. I mean, they can.
Well, then why are we limiting it to 2 or more in this language? Then I guess that's my legal question.
I'll say anybody can talk to a school board member at any given time. There's no prohibition, ultimately, for that action to happen, right? Or in either direction, right? So that's part of where that concern is. But it's more or less, we are the elected body, right? If individuals want to seek collaboration
they're not voting.
If individuals want to seek collaboration with the student school board members, they can reach out to them individually if they feel they have that need. The individual school board student school member can reach out to us individually if they want us to know their position on something. They are open to do that. The problem is when you bring that into the discussion on the dais when we're voting, whatever they're bringing forward, we don't. If that happened, I would call the table, the entire vote, and we have to go back to the workshop and look at the basis of the information they've brought forward, because the difference is that we have all the same data to share. There's no surprises, no secrets. When we go to that dais, we know that we've all had the same information and we've discussed it, right? If somebody brings a new perspective at the dais, right? Oftentimes this is going to be more of an emotional or political position And even if they bring it based on certain facts, we have not had time to review it. And this is not the role of the students in a school board. Whether or not another school district allows this, I think that it's irresponsible, to be quite honest with you, to bring in minors into a discussion like this where adults have been duly elected to make these policies based on talking to the constituents, which are their parents. We put our students first, but our constituents are the parents. So therefore, we need to hear from the parents. That comes through public comment, that comes through our interaction with the community. Parents are not the only stakeholder. There are others that are very much involved in the advancement of education. But the students benefit from our efforts. The adults in the room that see that we know this is the right path forward, and this is what we voted on for you. And there are plenty of opportunities for them to collaborate in between. And so now, I would like to, I want to know the ramifications of Sunshine Law, because that obviously is addressed in here about not talking to 2 or more school board members. So how does that look in this scenario?
And the reason I said 2, it's because you can't have 2 board members discussing a topic. So that's where the number 2 came from.
Well, you can't, that's 1, like.
Yeah, it's already a
I
violation.
can't,
No,
right, I
a
can't go.
student, no, if a student can talk to a board member, but if a student was talking to 2 board members about, then it's a sunshine violation between those 2 board members. That's where I was getting at.
But I think if we're stipulating that, to Mr. Furry's point, then we're stipulating they are treated as a school board member where we cannot speak on items even with one person. So I think that almost complicates it and makes it seem like we can hold them to the Sunshine Law, and that there could be a violation even with us communicating with a student liaison, which is not what we want to do.
Yeah, so Mr. Delaney was going to.
So, I'm got some notes, and I'm going to try to hit some of the questions that have come up. To Ms. Ruddy's point, I have not personally seen any cases either applying the Sunshine Law or limiting the application of it based on the age of the person involved. Would not want us to be the test case for that, but I don't think that there's a Florida case on that right now. There is definitely a concern about any person, whether they're a member of the board or a member of staff, being a conduit of information from one board member to another, conversations happening off the dais, in between meetings. The superintendent's not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to do that. The staff isn't. Say, well, board member number 1 thinks this, and board member number 2 is already ready to vote in favor of this. I couldn't be having that conversation with any other board member. Sunshine Law is complex, and I do have a level of concern that the closer you bring a student to the decision-making process, the greater the implications of Sunshine Law would apply. And I think it would be a tall ask for a high school student to be able to get sufficient training so they could apply Sunshine in real, world situations. I would still regularly get questions from board members who have served a number of terms, and they still have Sunshine questions. And so I think it would be a lot to ask someone. So let's address that issue. Would a student have the Sunshine Law apply to them? Well, they would on the conduit of information, because no one's allowed to do that. And we got to keep in mind that, Sunshine Law does potentially involve criminal prosecution for violation. So it's serious. The other part about that is it's not necessarily just the voting members of a public body that it applies to. We have situations all the time where staff may be evaluating bids and ranking bids that then come to the board with a recommendation, like on a construction project. Those meetings occur in the Sunshine. They're publicly noticed ahead of time, even though no board members are there, right? Because those staff members are ranking options that the board will eventually review. So the closer someone participates in the decision-making process, I think the ramifications of the Sunshine Law increase. And so I would have a concern if student liaisons were participating in the decision-making process. There definitely could be sunshine implications for that.
I guess the argument is that if we're allowing them, one, the ability to speak without any guidelines, templates during liaison updates, we're currently not restricting their ability to share their own perspective on the agenda items just voted on or ones that are coming before the board. So we would, if we're really trying to tighten this up, we'd have to essentially restrict that or create that very formulaic. Two, they're not a part of the decision just because they have no vote. Three, if we say as a board that when we are voting and the public comments that occur before the board prior to a vote don't matter and that your mind is already made up, then we're doing our public a disservice because we're not hearing from our constituents on a vote. So
No
to
one
say
said that. I just want a point of order. I just want to make sure that no one said that
No,
today.
the point of order would be that the interruption.
Yeah, point of order on, because saying as if somebody said today that public comments do not matter. No one said that here, so it's not even a topic for discussion.
The piece that was stated was that we've already discussed it and no new information should be brought forth prior to a vote. That would then be inclusive of the public comments which occur before the agenda items which occur before the vote. And therefore, that's inclusive of the information you're stating that should not be considered prior to a vote, or is the argument to not share a perspective from the student liaisons. And the way our liaison updates are shared, they're shared at the end of the meeting. So if they were passionate about something, they're either reflecting on a vote that occurred or on a future item that they've seen on a workshop, in which case we would have follow-up meetings about.
Okay, can I bring another perspective? We're all public officials and we're used to being in the spotlight, getting criticism, all those things. I think we need to consider, we'd never want our high schoolers to be involved, in something that was political or emotional, where then somebody writes something about them, and children haven't been written about in this county in the past, or the names are redacted, which to me is ridiculous because students find out anyway who it's about. And just considering, their mental and emotional health as well. If something bad was written about them, people are very mean-spirited online, that it could lead to depression or self-harm. I know this is like going way out there, but it's just... It's
even media coverage of their... So I just want to say to Ms. Ruddy's take, I do not believe that the student school board member should have the option to speak into agenda items from the dais in their role, right? But if they want to step out of their role as a citizen of this county, they are more entitled to go down and make public comment. Everybody's public comment matters, and we listen to everybody's. It has nothing to do with whether you've made up your mind or not. But in their role, as this policy should be defined, their involvement in the policy on the dais is not appropriate, in my opinion. And I think it's irresponsible to put them into that position. And but again, they are not being silenced because they can step down and do public comment at any time. They can reach out to a board member individually anytime through an email or a phone call, right? They could arrange a meeting at the school, and we can go to the school. I mean, there's this misunderstanding that the only place that you can communicate with a board member is at the business meeting. That is the last place that you communicate with a board member. If you really want to affect policy, you reach out to them before the night they're going to vote. Now, if that's the only time you have, then wonderful, come on in. But it better serves you to be part of the process than wait till the night that the vote's going to happen. So, but everybody governs themselves accordingly, and their motives are their own. But the end result is that we are the duly elected decision makers. These are not legal adults, right? They can't even vote on their own in most cases, and so therefore, I think it's our duty to protect them and do our jobs the way we need to do them, and I'll leave it there.
I'd like to wrap this up, so what's going to be our next
So
steps?
if I can just, we appreciate the, that the passion and the conversation that's happening. For the public, I think it's very important to understand that the purpose of this policy is to capture what is and has been the way of work within these positions, and that's the purpose. And so we can go back and adjust the language to bring forward some additional options for you as a board to consider. But what I want the community to walk away, because this is what I hear from this, though it may sound differently coming from different board members, is one is that you all want them to have a voice. Is really around where is that applied when it comes to agenda items, and where is that applied when it comes to anything else that they want to talk about. And so I think it's important that the community may hear you differing on that, but at the end of the day, it's all about, you guys all want them to be able to have a voice, but we have to figure out where does that live and how is that applied.
It also can't be at odds with each other. We
I
can't
agree.
say that they can speak at the public comment. They can get up from the dais, go put their name in, speak, but yet we're saying we're not allowing them to speak here because we're protecting them. So, it's up to, that's antithesis of each other.
From the standpoint of staff, when we propose this language, it is to say we don't want to take away their opportunity to speak, because if they were not a student school board member, they could at least speak on agenda items, and so we want to capture that. The second piece of it, from looking at guiding principles of it, empowering them, we want them to have a voice to be able to speak on a topic and on their liaison updates and all of those things. We did not want to recommend that they be placed in the middle of the conversation. When you as a board begin to actively discuss this, our recommendation is when that part for them would cease, but not to say that they would not have a voice about agenda items. And I don't hear that from any of you, and I'm just repeating that because I want the community to hear that is not what I'm hearing from any of you. It is not about them not having a voice. It's just where is it applied. And for us, once you as a board begin to discuss the topic, they will not be permitted to then engage in that portion of it. That is our recommendation. If that is not what the desire of the board is, that's no problem. We can continue to work this language. We were just trying to capture the way of work. To the example that you used earlier, our student school board members, have included in their closing comments, comments about votes and about their opinions as their opinion, as representing their schools around topics, and we still would find that appropriate. And so we will bring additional language back to better codify the conversation that you guys are having today. But I do think it's important that for the community, our students and all of that, is we're just trying to capture the language of what we are already doing. we want them to have a voice, we want them to be empowered, but we also want to make sure that we can protect them as much as we can as far as their involvement in the official business of the board, and we'll bring back additional language.
Do their parents sign their application?
If their parents sign anything, it is done at the school level. It is not done at the district level.
I think regardless,
Mhm.
I think it would be important for parents then
Okay.
to acknowledge.
I would agree.
We can definitely add that.
Yeah.
And Chair Chong, may I have the floor? And I think, I appreciate the conversation. I just thought it was really important to have a policy. So I think having the policy and then obviously hearing from the legal team and district staff what they feel would be obviously legal and then best interest of the student, because it is the best interest of the student. And just having a policy, and then between everything that we talked about today, making something that, providing wording that would be legal and provide a voice to the student, but just mainly having a policy. Because a couple years ago, we had I, as a community member watching, we had students talking at the dais in discussion, and so it's just confusing, like, are they allowed, are they not allowed? So I think today, just having a policy and whatever is the best and safest for our student, I think is the best option. I would just like a policy, and that's why I brought it up. So thank you for your hard work, and thank you for all the discussion.
We will be back with more.
All right.
Okay, 10.02, Board Policy 2431, ECG update with Mr. Bosterdette and Ms.
Good afternoon, school board members and Superintendent Moore. We come before you this afternoon requesting permission to advertise School Board Policy 2431, which is interscholastic athletics. As you know, this board has taken a proactive approach to student safety by requiring all student athletes as well as students participating in color guard, marching band, and JROTC to complete an ECG beginning no earlier than May 1st of their 8th grade year. This requirement became effective July 1st of 2025. Since that time, Florida Statute 1006.2 and FHSAA bylaws have been enacted requiring that student athletes have an ECG on file within 2 years prior to July 1st of the year of participation. The proposed revision you see before you today aligns our current policy with state statute and the rules and regulations of the FHSAA.
Now, the EL1 form is done at the provider level. Is my understanding correct, then they'll do the ECG with their provider?
It will still partner. We're fortunate to partner with Advent Health and who we play for, but they could do it with their own personal provider, but they would document on the EL1 form. And that's a FHSAA requirement.
The major change here is that we had the May of their 8th grade year. This allows for them to have it 2 years prior, so that that's one of the biggest changes with that time frame of allowance.
How is that tracked? Let's say that a student wants to go try out for color guard now, and is there a listing, and there's a database that can be reviewed? So how are we ensuring that the coach is looking that up? Is there something that must be?
So there is a database. We use Home Campus here in Flagler. And every year, students have to be cleared through the athletic department or with JROTC, color guard, and marching band through our activities office. So parents will go, if it's an annual physical or would now be the ECG, they'll go get all the required forms, go to their doctor, and then they'll upload those documents through Home Campus. We don't put that responsibility on the coaches. It comes out of the athletics office or activities office. They're responsible for tracking all of those, and then coaches are responsible for checking their rosters, and they can log in and make sure everybody's cleared. It tells you whether you're cleared or not, and if you're not cleared for some reason, it tells you the reason why.
Yeah, I guess my concern is because this is, it can be a 2-year span.
Sure.
Everybody knows, oh, get your papers. I got boom, 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 all these papers. So those are the ones you're thinking about. You're not thinking about, well, this student were they cleared 2 years ago? And how do we verify that anything not in the current list of the paperwork is also being cross-referenced and not slipped through the cracks?
That's a great point. The clearance for the ECG carries over year to year, so you don't have to resubmit. That clearance it's a one-time clearance throughout their high school career, so that'll automatically carry over, if that makes sense.
In the database.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
I know this is coming from the state level, but the only concern I see, like, I have a student in my office, and the mom's like, well, we already did the ECG. Okay, well, I need to see it, you know, or they might fight you on that, but.
And I agree with your concerns. We've reached out to the FHSAA. They still have to document it on the EL1 form, but they can add the supporting documentation from the previous form along with the EL1 form. So they won't have to go back and get another ECG or get a physician's signature. They'll just submit it along with the required EL1 form.
Any other questions?
Just, Mr. Delaney, do you see anything off with that language?
No, ma'am, I don't see anything that is out of compliance with Florida statute.
Okay, thank you.
And Board, just as a reminder, you will see this on the agenda this evening for request for permission to advertise.
So we'll advertise it, it'll sit, it'll come back, you'll vote on it again for it to go into place.
Don't do anything unless we do it 3 times.
All right, thank you, Mr. Boswell.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you.
Move on to, are there any public comments?
We don't have any public comments.
Okay, board member requests, we'll start with Ms. Ramirez.
Nothing new, thank you.
Same for this evening, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
I kind of have one coming from the community, and just to say thank you and congrats to Mr. Bush and all the team on the FP&L rebate. Very good. And of course, I was bragging about it, but a request from the community, is there any way to direct some funds into our field trips, transportation? I mean, I am kind of curious as well. I don't think it would be a lot, but, you know.
You will be surprised how much it costs for transport. Are you referring to field trips?
Yeah.
Transportation for field trips. We can bring some information back to you. I will tell you that that is definitely something that comes up, because oftentimes when our families or our schools are fundraising, they're fundraising to cover the cost of transportation, and the immediate thought may be that they're trying to cover the cost of transportation for our transportation buses, but that's not usually the case. It is for the chartered buses that they will use to allow for them to travel outside of the county. And I will bring information back, but right now, Mr. Freeman, we are a 9 to 12:30 span right now for bus trips during the day.
It's basically a 9 to 12:30 that we can use our buses, otherwise they're out doing runs.
Yes, so unless it's in that time frame, which is not a lot of places you can go outside of the county, some places inside of the county, you can't go between that, and so they're often raising the dollars for the charter transportation, but we can definitely provide the board with some information of how we support schools in student trips and such.
Yes, and I know we all know our money goes lots of different places.
Yes.
There was also an email to all of us, I just want to make sure we address the parental permission for students to attend a guest speaker at Flagler School.
I think I recall that public speaker, they were specifically referencing a political figure, that essentially when there's a representative or some, which then I was thinking, well, technically then we are voted, that if we put in a policy around that, that would preclude us from visiting our own campuses.
Yeah, I know, that I remember the comment, I know specifically what he's referring to, but it wasn't, his particular issue was with an elected congressman.
Right.
But, you know, there are certain allowances that elected and powers they have, so we have to evaluate those things too before we would enter into policy that it may not even be enforceable, you know.
And the same token, we do have to provide parental permission slips for having programs like guest speakers.
Outside of that, which
I don't see that it's outside of the realm to when we have somebody outside of our district, not affiliated with our school district. So if we're a school board or Mr. Bush going to a school or something like that, that we don't need to create extra processes around that. But if it's somebody who doesn't traditionally come to the school, and in the case of very often those visitors, even other school districts, we include our students and CTE programs or have them go visit special programs, it is an interesting topic to explore, and I think one that maybe we should discuss.
Yeah, I'm open to talking
Yeah.
about it. It's just a matter of, you know, if there's a representative that is for that district, there's certain, just like us, we can't, if we're gonna be in a classroom, you know, we're gonna be there, right? It's just the way that it goes. I'm open to talking about it. I'm all for parental consent for things, so I'm definitely on board with that.
And
for
it would
sure.
have to be like, hey, you would need to opt out because the volume and the administrative overhead to opt in. And I would think that it just needs to be when it's people who are outside of the county.
I have not read it, and so I will not, I can't really comment, because I have not read it. But what I will say is, we want to also ensure that we're not going to make it problematic for our community to come and visit our schools. We have, and this is not for individuals that are presenting. We have lots of people that come, our stakeholders in our community, that come and visit our schools. We ensure that they're cleared through their background checks. These individuals are walking spaces, they're escorted, they're with us, they have limited engagement with our students, for sure. They're just really there as a stakeholder and looking at the education that's happening within our school district. So I think that's what immediately comes to mind, is that we don't want to restrict that. We want our stakeholders to be able to come and be a part and see the great things that are happening on our campuses, but while also making sure.
Or provide us support, like fiddlers and such.
Sure, and elected officials do have oversight powers just like we do, and also, we also need them as a community. They're representing us broader
Supporting
than
us.
our local borders. They're up in Tallahassee, they're in Washington DC. So we don't want to not welcome the people that we need to collaborate with, but I am sensitive to a parental concern. So how do we balance those two things? I think it's worth the conversation.
Communication, so we maybe put on the agenda and we can workshop it.
And maybe it's as simple as putting it on the school calendar, and then, you know, it's on the parent to determine how they want to react.
Okay, closing comments.
Well, great job, Mr. Bush and the team. And you missed earlier, I just wanted to say thank you to Plant Services for helping out at Matanzas High School for the Belterra Elementary dance, and obviously our fire station and everybody, so thank you. And I'll see everyone tonight.
I just want to thank all of the principals, the assistant principals who came and shared updates about the programs, and to Ms. Moore's earlier point, you know, this kind of exercise can be very uncomfortable. Could you imagine if you're you're having essentially your open one-on-one with your boss in front of everybody? But that's part of the transparency that public schools brings, and I would encourage you to require that type of transparency of all of the educational options afforded to your children.
Yes, I was very encouraged by the presentation of our building leaders. I know we've got great things to come, and thanks for everybody and the staff for putting everything together today, and I'll yield my time there.
I'll echo those comments. We'll see everybody tonight.
Okay.
Happy 120th day of school.